Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. It's really nice to see you all. We don't often have this many people at our public forums, so it's really, really good to see you, and I want to welcome you all here. Before we get into our meeting, I just want to have a few words about the Cambridge Community Board and our public forums. So we are a publicly elected independent board that work in partnership with council. So our job is to be the go-between between the community and council. That's our job. What we hear tonight is what we will take back to council as feedback from the community. We have a public forum in the beginning of all of our meetings. We love the public forum. It is sometimes the most important part of our meeting. Many of you are here to speak about Cambridge Connections, and I want you to know that this is our main area of focus at the moment. It is the main thing that we are concentrating on. And we also understand the amount of stress and uncertainty that this plan has had on our community. And I also want you to know that I accept that there is a lot of emotion and frustration around that plan. And for some of you tonight, relaying that emotion and frustration to us will be important. And that's okay. That is okay. What's not going to be okay is any intimidating or aggressive language or behavior. And if that happens as the chairperson, I will just have to move on to the next person. And I don't want to have to do that. I really want to hear from as many of you as possible. There are quite a few of you speaking, so we may have to keep to our 5-minute timing. We will have a little alarm go. Please use that alarm to sum up your thoughts. You may have questions. We will do our best to answer those questions. There will be many questions we are not able to answer. We will do our best to get those answers to you. This is a very important and defining issue for our community, but it's not the only business that the Cambridge Community Board are working with at the moment. We have some folks here tonight who have applied for funding from us. We are a board that gives funding to community groups. I think it's fair that those folks speak first. That way they're able to leave, and then we can get stuck into our Cambridge Connections stuff. Right, that being said, welcome again to you all. Let's have a good meeting. Let's get started, as always, with a karakia. E te atua kaharawa, homai ki a mātou tikaha, ki te whai atu i ngā huarahi tika, mo tēnei hui I tēnei rā, tihei mauri ora. To the great creator, give us the strength to follow the correct pathway for our meeting today. Blessing be to life. Thank you. Right. Apologies. We have had an apology from board member Elise Badger. I'll move that. Can I have someone second? Alana, thank you. All in favour? Okay with that? Aye. Carried. Thank you. Disclosures of members' interests. Are there anything in the agenda tonight that could be... Philip, did you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. Cambridge Tree Trust and the Cambridge Safe Community Trust on the grant applications.
Okay. That's fine. Andrew?
I also sit on the Cambridge Safer Communities Trust as a community board representative.
Okay. Andrew. Okay. Okay. Right, so let's hear from those grant applications. So is Adrian here from Cambridge RDA. Welcome. Now we are live streaming, so please can you push the purple button, and that will mean that we'll be able to hear you online as well. Thank you.
I'd like just to introduce myself first. I'm Adrian Pett. I wear many hats depending what job I'm doing. I'm a full-time, just partly part-time now GP. I'm a parent of a disabled child that's lived in Cambridge for over 25 years and a member of Cambridge RDA. And I'm here today representing Cambridge RDA. Cambridge RDA has applied to the discretionary fund for a DFIB for the group. To give you a bit of background of Cambridge RDA over the last 25 years, we started off many years ago up at the Racecourse Road, the Jockey Club, and we had to move down, and we moved down onto the Green Belt by Gaslight Theatre. So actually where the bridge is and where most of you know where we are. And I'd like to put a little plug out here that we are always looking for volunteers, and there's many people here who live close by. And if you ever want to come down and be part of RDA, please do so. We always are looking for members. We have grown. When we first started, we worked every second Saturday. We worked in the open air, and we had only minimal ability to treat or offer facilities for riding for the community. Over the last 20 years, we've built an arena, we put a cover over the arena, and we now operate 4 days a week, full-time. We have coaches, we have lots of volunteers, we can always do for more, and lots of riders. With this growing community, we are also very conscious that we have within our community vulnerable people, and we would like to have a defibrillator on site because we think that would be really a useful tool in case of an emergency with the kind of clientele and not only our riders, but also our volunteers who tend to be in the elderly group. I'm well aware that as a medical person, the quicker you can use a defibrillator, the better it is. There's no question about that. And to have one in our community would be beneficial. We also feel that it could be used in a wider area around us. We have the Gaslight Theatre by us, so there's a potential it could be available to there. The cycleway goes right past us. Most people who cycle are fit and well, but we all know that sometimes the odd accident or incident happens. And if you ever look at defibrillators, there's lots and lots in Cambridge, but there are not that many which are available out in the community 24 hours a day, which you can access. The nearest one to here, I believe, will be St Andrew's Church. The council one has one, but it's not available when the council's closed. There's lots around the medical centres, but they're not open all day long. The fire brigade has one, but you've got to call the fire brigade out. So therefore, if the community could fund a defibrillation down at Cambridge RDA, whilst its primary use is for we want it for RDA, we would envisage that we could also potentially make it available to the wider community. And therefore, it's not just the RDA that benefits, but it's the whole of the Cambridge community. So we feel it's a very good application for the community board to support us to help provide this, not just for RDA, but for also the greater Cambridge community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Adrian before he goes, Alana?
Thank you. So how do you making sure that it's available to the general public?
Oh, sorry.
So there's a number of ways that can be done. The first way is when you're open, of course, you can come and ask for it. But there is other ways that can be done. In a lot of places, they have defibrillations mounted on walls. It could be by the entrance to the RDA rather than actually down on the premises. We could take it down while we're working, but we could put it back there at other times. If there's an emergency, there's normally a number you can ring, which the ambulance have a lock, which will unlock it, and then you can take the defib and go and use it. Unfortunately, if you just leave them open, they have a tendency to disappear, which is rather sad. So there has to be some security behind it, but there can be methods where that can be available 24 hours a day.
Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah. Any other questions? No, thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you. Right. We're going to move on to Eileen, who's just coming to us from home. There she is. Nice to see you. There she is.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, very good. Apologies, I have a bug, so I'm staying away.
Thank you.
But, good evening, everybody. Chair Joe, Community Board and councillors and everybody else in the room. My name is Eileen Hawkins and I'm here from Cambridge Neighbourhood Support, which is part of Safer Cambridge Trust. Before I start, I just want to say we really appreciate the support you've given us in the past. You know, it's really lovely for us to be working alongside council to support the community. And also just to acknowledge that this is not a great time to be asking for money. It's a time when you just want to spend on must-haves. So tonight I'm just going to tell you really briefly about why our business is about the health and safety of our community, a must-have, and how our database, which we're asking for money to update, is a critical tool in allowing us to do that work. So look, you probably have all heard of some of our programs. At least we've got neighbourhood emergency plans, we've got a children's citizenship program, we've got first aid classes, we've been doing education on the new firearm legislation for our rural community. We do a lot of different programs, but fundamentally we're really about connecting people and communities, connecting neighbours. And why is that important? Well, look, I'm a bit of a research person, and I try and make sure that everything we do is evidence-based. And I've got some compelling research that I just want to read to you. It's very quick, but it's from Professor Vladimir Hitchinski, and he has just won the Ryman 2024 prize, which is for the best discovery that can enhance the lives of older people. So it's been pretty amazing. And these are his words. He says, "Connecting with others, we didn't realise before how important it is. Now we know that isolation can be devastating. If you are isolated, you have an increased chance of developing heart disease by 24%. If you are isolated, you have an increased risk of stroke by 37%. And if you are isolated, you have an increased risk of dementia by 50%. So the ability to interact is just as important as eating healthily or even being active." Now, I'm happy to share any research references if anybody wants them, but I thought that was such compelling evidence that I wanted to share that with you. So it just shows that our work in connecting people and trying to forge strong relationships that are available right outside people's front door is really worthy work and really helps to protect the health of our community. Just to reiterate, the ability to interact is just as important as eating healthily and even getting exercise. So how does that relate to our database? Well, our database does a number of things for us. It enables us to connect neighbours with one another. It records details of who might need help in case of an evacuation. The police and civil defence can send messages to distinct neighbourhoods through our database. We record on behalf of neighbourhoods the type of equipment and skills that are closest to them that may be accessed in case of an emergency. And we also record on our database the emergency contact details that could be used in a personal crisis, but also in a wider civil defence kind of event. So our database is a really key tool for us to help us to communicate efficiently. And as the information, though, gets old and out of date, it becomes less and less effective for us. So to conclude, our fundamental purpose is about connecting neighbourhoods, forming really tight-knit, supportive street villages. Because, as you know, to interact is just as important as eating healthily and getting exercise for the health of our community. Now, our work is made much harder when our database is out of date. We just can't rely on it anymore. And again, we know that this is a hard time to be asking for money, and this is the time to just be spending on must-haves. But we would ask you to think about our work definitely as a must-have. I mean, what could be more important than our work in protecting the health and the safety of our community? So we would ask you to think about, when you're thinking about spending on must-haves, to think about Cambridge Neighbourhood Support, Cambridge Community Patrol, and the Safer Cambridge Trust. So that's my message to you tonight, and thank you for listening, and thanks for considering our application.
Thanks, Eileen. Thank you. Any questions for Eileen? No, that looks great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
you. Right, now I'd like to welcome Pete Fisher from Cambridge Tree Trust. Hello, how are you? Good evening. Don't forget to push the purple button so we can hear you online. That's good.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Pete Fisher, the chairman of the Cambridge Tree Trust. I'm here to speak in support of our application for $2,000 to help us purchase a more suitable vehicle for our requirements. Cambridge Tree Trust has been in existence for 32 years now. It's hard to believe. And our raison d'etre, if you like, is all about trees. Planting trees, promoting the growing of trees with the public, and of course, helping to foster and maintain the image of Cambridge as a town of trees. You may have seen us around Cambridge working at various sites. We've usually got high-vis jackets on, and we're planting or weeding or spraying or trimming trees, and we get a great deal of pleasure out of that apart from anything else. And we have around 30 members, and we have around 30 different projects scattered all over Cambridge. And we invest, I think is a better word. We invest about 3,000 hours a year in work on trees, all the things associated with those trees. I'm just struggling to read my writing now. Oh, and it's important. That figure of 3,000 hours doesn't actually include the many uncounted hours that a lot of members put in on their own time. So there's a lot of that sort of work goes on. We work closely with the Waipa District Council, with the arborist and Matt Johnson and co. And all our funding is from either subscriptions. We charge a subscription of the princely sum of $15 per annum, and of course also donations. We get quite a few charitable donations, which are all very good. The Tree Trust needs a truck to carry the tools that we use, the trees, mulch, all sorts of things into sites that we work at. And of course, we need a truck also to cart trimmings, weeds, and that sort of thing away from those same sites. We currently have a truck. It's actually a 1994 truck, which has done about 2 zillion kilometres, and it's actually starting to cost us quite a lot of money to maintain it. In fact, I think last year we spent about $3,700 just on getting it roadworthy. And that was probably about a fifth of our expenditure last year. So it's troublesome. Also, the truck has a few issues with accessing some of our more difficult sites. For example, the swale over by the Waikato Expressway gets very slippery in the winter time, and that's when we mostly plant. And we actually had trucks side slipping almost into the swale at one stage. We're also difficult steep sites like, for example, Lola Silcock Park, getting down to the lower level down there. We can't get down there, so we have to carry stuff up. So we're looking for a vehicle which would fulfill our needs better, and we believe that a four-wheel drive flat deck truck would fulfill those needs almost perfectly. So as I say, we're asking for at $2,000 a contribution towards the purchase of a vehicle. So thank you very much for your consideration of our application.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate that. You guys do amazing work. Any questions for Pete before? No. Oh, yeah.
Just the makeup of the balance, Pete.
Yes.
A vehicle might cost you $20,000 to $50,000. How do you propose to fund for that?
We are not going to get a new vehicle. We're aiming to get a second-hand vehicle, and preferably a high kilometerage vehicle, because we probably only do a few hundred kilometers a year, say from the site maybe over to Greenscape, dump the stuff there. So I mean, we're not going for a mega buck truck or a big fancy SUV. Okay.
It's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you
It's really
very
nice to
much.
see you. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Linda from the Rotorangi Hall. And then we have one more for our discretionary. Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Nice to see you.
Been thrown in at the deep end.
Not at all. No, make yourself comfortable.
Oh, good evening, everybody. I'm Linda Curran, and I'm actually representing the Rotorangi Hall committee. I've just recently, in the past year, got involved again with the Rotorangi Hall. Just to outline a few things, the hall was built in 1938, and it was actually the money raised to build that hall was from the local community and donations. I spoke recently at the CWI meeting, and I actually was lovely to actually meet some of the ladies that actually, whose husbands and themselves fundraised for the hall. The focal point, and it's the hub of the community. We have actually, over the past 6 months, worked extremely hard to try and fundraise to actually upgrade the hall. The hall has fallen into a little bit of disrepair, mainly because of the economy, just not having the support. It's not something that we want to happen. So the committee that we have are working, as I say, extremely hard to actually fundraise, to actually basically do maintenance. We've recently fundraised for spouting. We have a local business that actually helped us out too as well with some generous donations. As I say, it's tied. We are currently funded by donations and also levies, annual levies, which aren't compulsory. They're due to actually go out again very soon. The hall has actually been used by a church group. We did have a dance group in there for some years, which is actually now it's not being used. Some of the things that we would actually like to achieve are replacing the weatherboards on the outside of the hall. We would actually like to upgrade the outside area of the play centre, which was roughly built, and the playground itself around about 1976-78, because that's a real asset to the hall, currently not being used. The local school are actually using the hall from time to time. We've had line dancing in there recently. We're wanting to start up bowls, table tennis again, which was really strong some years ago. And that will actually bring in people, because as I say, it's the hub of the community. And because as at 1st of June, we'll be having a lot of new people, farm hands coming into the area, we want to do a welcome in for the newcomers. And we'd also like to let it out to other people in Cambridge and surrounding areas at a hall hire. The ceiling in the actual supper room, which I know needs replacing, is going to be quite expensive, but we're actually tonight, we would actually just like our application to be all about upgrading the weatherboards and perhaps getting that play centre sorted. We have applied for $3,683, and we've actually, I have here the accounts to submit to you for appraisal. So,
Right. Thank you.
basically, it's a great hall. It's an old hall. It's an asset. We don't want to lose it, and we just want it to be used more frequently by whoever and enjoy it. That's
Great.
what it's all about.
Thank you, Linda.
So
Appreciate
thank you
that.
for allowing me to come in at such short notice.
No,
because,
not at all.
as I say,
Absolutely.
I'm not as prepared as I should be.
That's
but as I say,
okay.
it's
No, that was
just
perfect.
sprung on.
No, all good. Any questions for Linda?
thank
Or
you.
she's up? No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and just the last person now to speak on our funding is Ian. Welcome to you both.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome. My name's Ian McNeil. I'm from Whenuapai in Northwest Auckland. I'm representing Harbour City Rod Club, who are staging a national rod run event in Waipa County in February 2025. So a little bit of background: the New Zealand Hot Rod Association was incorporated in 1961. It's 3,500 members, about 100 clubs. And to my knowledge, nothing has ever been staged of any consequence in Cambridge. So this is the first opportunity for us to really bring something to Cambridge. We have previously hosted the pre-49 events at Sky City and Ellerslie Racecourse. So this is not our first rodeo, but certainly our first rodeo for Cambridge. Harbour City Club, established in 1967, sadly all mainly boomers. This is a representation of our cars to give you a bit of a feel for what hot rod is. We have been at the forefront of the steering committee to modified vehicle certification in New Zealand, and the members might be surprised to now know that it was volunteered initially, funded by us, and is now in the hands of Waka Kotahi, and certified vehicles in New Zealand make up about 6,000 vehicles every year in New Zealand. A smaller percentage of those, of course, are hot rods. We're looking forward to bringing this event to Waipa. We've just been over at Clearways. They have 72 rooms confirmed for this event already, which is really exciting because it's in February 25. We've booked already our buses with the local folk here, and we will be doing catering all at Cambridge Raceway. We'll certainly be using all the marquee and other facilities in town, and potentially we will be targeting up to about 280 new people from around New Zealand who are bringing their cars to this event. And as I say, we'll be utilising everything within the area. Members have so far raised $11,400 in 3 months. I think that's pretty outstanding. We've done that by way of selling naming rights to this event at $150 a go, and that will be drawn very shortly. And so this funding request is specifically around assistance with the back end of this, and I'm thinking of certainly insurance, sanctioning, promotion. We don't have good creative volunteers, so we're going to have to pay for that to be able to generate this, to generate the promotion we need to get people in Cambridge to support this. So our intention is to have over Waitangi weekend, that's 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, to bring people to Cambridge from the 6th after Waitangi celebrations. They'll be hosted at Clearways mainly, but they're free to book in town. We will be holding a public display at the raceway with funds available for a charity only. So we'll ask a gold coin donation and give that money to someone in the community worthy, whilst all the partners go mad and shop in town. So I'd like to think that this is a great opportunity for the Waipa County, particularly Cambridge, because this may not happen again. These events are alternated between North and South Island, and as I say, they've never hosted one in Cambridge. So really appreciate the opportunity. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Hot rodding has got I can look at the eyes and go, oh, Evans, what's a hot rod to me? Screaming louts, and it's nothing like that. These cars are all in the 90 to 100K bracket. All the people are older. They're much more sensible. They're mainly boomers. And as I say, it's very well managed now in terms of modified vehicles in New Zealand. You can't run a vehicle like this without full certification. The process is not just warrants, it's far more stringent. They're very safe. So I welcome your questions. It's a topic you're not really familiar with, but
absolutely. No, they look amazing. Any questions for Ian, folks?
You just confirmed that you're having one night at Clearway Raceway?
No. So the catering will be done at Cambridge Raceway, and the people will be staying at Clearways and other accommodation. We fully anticipate we'll book out Clearways, And so
So
members,
all public events and attendance and
sorry.
cars will be parked for show at where?
Cambridge Raceway, that's a Sunday. So typically what the program will run like, Friday will be closed events for members to go to various shops and garages and fabrication shops in town here. Saturday will be a rod run. That's for all the members who are participating. And then Sunday will be the prize giving and the public display at Cambridge Raceway. We will be asking Cambridge Raceway, or we have already arranged for them to cater for us. Any interest?
Phil?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for presenting. How many cars are likely to be there?
We anticipate that there'll be in there, I mean, it ranges, we can't be sure at present, we haven't got the rest. We've run events with 125, at Sky City it was 250 cars. And, you know, there's typically 2 people per car, so there's about 500 at that level. Sincerely, I think we're probably pitching about 280. We don't know how this climate's going to work in next February, where that's going to land. You know, $3 something a litre. So it might be a bit challenging, but we fully anticipate that people have travelled to the South Island for their Oamaru Nationals last weekend from the North Island. So we have no.
And so on the Saturday, what was it? You drive?
Yeah, we'll be splitting the cars into various small groups
Yeah.
and going to what we call a shed raid. So we'll be going to fabrication shops. There's one in town called Bad Penny. There's various owners of collections of cars, and we'll be taking those guys out to various venues and rotating them around. So there won't be a big stream of cars.
Great.
So a little bit like the beach shop, where they operate and go to different.
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, it'll be far less scale than that. These are all I mean, 60,000 people go to the beach shop. No, no, I'm not that guy. Not even.
Thank you.
60 plus. Yeah.
Right, Philip, last one, please.
No, not anticipated that we would do that. We're certainly conscious of one of the items on the agenda, about traffic management. So no, it's really, so it really, that Saturday event will be taking all the cars in one line to a venue, to most likely a private venue.
Right.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Right, to kick off Cambridge Connections, I'd like to welcome Kerry Church.
Thanks, Jo.
Welcome. Nice to see you. Now, there are a few spare chairs inside, folks. If anyone can see one, there's 2. Okay, there's 1. Yep, you're welcome to. Yep, perfect. Thank you. Kerry.
Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Kerry Church and I grew up in Cambridge. I left for 3 decades, and 7 years ago my husband Peter and I returned to Cambridge to build our dream home in Hall Street. The way that the Cambridge Connections project has been managed has caused so much pain for my friends, my neighbours and my community. The last time I saw this much pain was during the 2007 to 2012 global financial crisis. I hate seeing people in pain, so I am using my skills to help them. I am a financial planner and investment advisor. I research, analyse, simplify concepts and communicate information to people. Mayor Susan O'Regan was quoted on the 16th of February 2022 saying, "It's difficult to have sympathy for those who haven't done the groundwork and even worse, have chosen to be ignorant or ill-informed." Understanding that this is the council position, as communicated by their leader, I want to make sure that everyone has as much information as possible and that they are not ignorant or ill-informed in the council's eyes. Therefore, I'm going to share my findings, some of my findings today. To start off with, though, I have a request for council. I don't understand why council is only communicating by email with the people that they've decided live in the blue zone. Although I live within 50 minutes of the blue zone, I've had no formal communication from the council. The traffic modelling that we've received by doing research is clear that Alpha Street, Hall Street, where I live, Queen Street, Vogel Street, as well as others will be impacted by much heavier traffic if an in-town bridge ends up happening. Therefore, my first request to council is, I think, quite a simple request, is to build an email list. Put a form on your website so that everyone that wishes to be notified of what is happening whenever you announce something can register to receive that information. I sincerely thank Brian Hudson, Rachel Algar, and Rachel Taylor for their efficiency and expertise in answering my dozens of questions and requests. The three topics that I'm going to cover relate to traffic modelling and assumptions that ended up with the emerging preferred option C blue zone. First, why does the Victoria Bridge have to close? We've been told that the Victoria Bridge only has 20 to 35 years of life left in it. I have been advised by a senior structural engineer who has decades of experience working with steel structures and bridges and who is quite familiar with the Victoria Bridge that this is unlikely to be true. He advises that if the bridge is currently rated to carry vehicular traffic, as was confirmed in the 2021 structural engineering report by Becker, then as long as the bridge is maintained, it will continue to be able to carry that traffic indefinitely. We have been told that it will cost lots of money to maintain the bridge. Just to be clear, maintenance involves cleaning, painting, rust protection, replacing pins, plates, and steel when required. And actually the biggest cost for maintaining the bridge is not doing all of that, it's putting the scaffolding in place and accessing the bridge. As a Category A historic place, that's what Victoria Bridge is, there is a legal requirement to maintain the bridge. It is an offence to alter or destroy an historic place. Not doing maintenance on the bridge is likely to be equivalent to destroying the bridge. Secondly, the bridge will have to be maintained if pedestrian and cyclists are to use it without danger. In the Becker 2018, different report, Becker report about the bridge, one of the ideas floated was to make the bridge a tidal flow for traffic. This is making the traffic one way. Maybe from midnight to midday, it would go north, and maybe for the other half of the day, it would go south, or some other kind of variation of flows. I'm surprised and concerned that all of the modelling was done based on the assumption that the Victoria Bridge has to be closed totally to vehicles. My understanding is that using the one-way option would potentially change the traffic flows, mean that there would still be a full lane to accommodate cyclists and may lead to a different location for the new bridge. I call on the council and transport team and consultants to start the modelling again, including modelling where Victoria Bridge is kept open to one-way tidal flow traffic for all scenarios, and then compare it with a whole set of modelling where the Victoria Bridge is closed. Second point, option A modelling. When we were presented with the models, option A was the out-of-town bridge. I cannot understand why this option didn't get all the bells and whistles. This means that option A would never stand a chance compared to option C for the Waka Kotahi business case, as it doesn't have a strong modal shift to walking, cycling and public transport. And I understand that these are all critical elements to getting funding. The Transport Manager has explained the rationale to me for the option A modelling like this. We could, of course, do this. It was felt that one of the options should attempt to show the outcomes of catering for commuting traffic and targeting road building. If we did not test such an option, we would be ignoring what the public believed to be a legitimate option. I can't understand why the team assumed that the public would not want to see an out-of-town bridge and all the bells and whistles. This doesn't seem like it was ever really on the table. I call on the council and transport team and consultants to start the modelling again, ensuring that all options considered have all the bells and whistles so that each option is being compared like with like. My final point starts with a question for everyone. What were you doing, everyone? What were you doing between the 24th of February and the 30th of March 2022? When I looked at my diary, I discovered that I changed all my arrangements so that I wasn't in a close contact situation with other people. This is because on January the 23rd of 2022, the government announced that we were in a red traffic light setting for Omicron COVID. This is different to the level 4 and level 3 settings that we had in 2020 and 2021, but people were urged to work from home and the size of public gatherings was capped. New Zealanders were scared of getting Omicron. People changed their behaviour. Along with other people hunkering down, all the council meetings for this period were done by video conference during this period. However, between 24th of February and 30th of March 2022, right in the middle of the red traffic light setting, the Cambridge Connections project was collecting the Bluetooth origin and destination data to provide evidence for Cambridge's future transport plan and the location of the third bridge. The project steering group identified a preferred option, which includes an in-town bridge crossing, because data showed that most people from Leamington want to access central Cambridge, not travel to Hamilton. That was how it was described by Mayor Susan O'Regan. Waka Kotahi, and this is what we've just handed out, Waka Kotahi has reported, and this is a report that they have made for transport planners, it was released in August last year, has reported that 31% of us Kiwis were working from home during the red traffic light setting during those dates. This was the largest percentage of people working from home since the very first lockdown in 2020. Now, the data that was collected by the council may be right. It may be that the people who live in Leamington didn't work from home during the red traffic light period, but we don't know. This adds uncertainty about the reliability and safety of the Bluetooth data which appears to be fundamental to the options presented in the project. I advise the CEO, the transport manager, and others on council staff of this discovery last Tuesday, April the 9th. The transport manager has confirmed that they were not aware of this issue. I call on the council and transport team and consultants to start the modelling again, starting with getting new Bluetooth data that will give us confidence that the information is accurate and representative of how our community travels. In conclusion, I'm not an engineer. I'm not a traffic specialist, but I know people who are. However, I do know how to analyse data and understand the implications of it, including line-by-line interrogation of documents. Based on my analysis so far, I have identified a number of potential issues with the project: the modelling, the assumptions, the communications, the Bluetooth data. Let's all do this properly, once and for all, and harness the resources that are available in the community. You might be surprised how many people genuinely want to help you get this right. I call on the council and councillors to agree with to work with a resident advisory group in relation to this project. Our brains may help identify flaws in the project before the project becomes too expensive and undoable. Thank you to the Community Board and the councillors for your time.
Thank you, Kerry. That was great to hear from you. Thank you. Right, questions for Kerry. There's a lot there. Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Very, very good to hear from you. Right. Oh, yeah. Kerry, Andrew just has a question for you. Just pop back to that microphone before we move
Thank
on.
you, Kerry. Just in relation to the Victoria Street Bridge,
Yes.
just in relation to the Victoria Street Bridge having to close, and say it's in your argument, dare I call it, that can stay open in eternity. How's that going to help your view on where a bridge should be? Is it you're implying that would help place a bridge potentially further away? Okay. And then I want one question more is
So basically, because the traffic model sense that the new bridge that's proposed.
Just your mic.
The traffic modelling says that the new bridge will be at capacity when it opens, which is another issue.
one more question. Is the data here from Waka Kotahi, is that from a particular location, like a state highway, or?
It's a national survey. And I'm quite happy to forward through to Joe the full report. That's just one page out of a big report.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand if it's representative of what might be occurring in Cambridge.
It's a national survey.
That could be helpful, actually, if you can send that through. Thank you.
Oh.
Kim Thorne, yes, make sure that microphone's on. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Kemp Thorne of Central Cambridge. I did a check prior to coming, and I might, if I'm allowed, go over my 5 minutes. I don't know. So it's been, I've typed it up, and it's available for everybody, but I'd like most people to hear. I attended my first community board meeting on the 20th of March after hearing about the third bridge proposal via the Cambridge News on the 29th of February. This issue persuaded me to understand the workings of local government, and I thought that I could find out more about the situation that had arisen. When I attended the meeting, through pure frustration, I had an outburst when I injected, "But how does this happen?" I was then asked to make a statement at the meeting, and I showed my deep concern that the emerging preferred option was a predetermined outcome, and about the overall management of the whole process regarding the Bridge project. I apologise if I appeared forthright. It had been a very frustrating few weeks leading up to the meeting, but hopefully you can see that that came from my desire to have a properly functioning local democracy. Just prior to the March Community Board meeting, the council sent out a flyer to residents under the affected shaded area, inviting them to an information evening on the various proposals. In the letter, to the residents, signed by Brian Hudson, Transport Manager of the Waipa District Council, it was stated, it was the intention to notify residents in the proposed area prior to the advertisement appearing in the paper. We apologise unreservedly that this did not happen. Once I received the flyer, that evening I wrote to Mr. Hudson via email and asked the following. If it was your intention to notify residents of the proposed third bridge prior to making a public announcement, what was the Waipa District Council to communicate directly to the residents? When were you planning on communicating with the impacted residents? And what impact would that have on the timeframe that you're working to? Why was that plan not followed? And who was responsible for that plan not being implemented? Why was that plan not followed? And who is responsible for it being implemented? What are the consequences of those individuals who did not follow the plan? And what do we as residents now do? The process has not been followed. The answer I received was a combination of council speak and other excuses around long-term plans that were to be consulted on. Then the government changed, and then there was a need to produce an interim plan for another long-term plan, which was to be produced, but needed to be consulted upon in the new long-term plan. In reality, they were telling me they were not doing their job, and were not following all the policies they should have been operating within. In most organisations where staff do not do their jobs and do not follow the policies, the chief executive steps in and makes sure that this is corrected. Unfortunately, the Waipa District Council had a chief executive who had announced his planned retirement. At a critical time, it appeared the CEO had gone AWOL and did nothing. When the CEO is not taking control of an organisation, key stakeholders would look to the board members to take control. In the case of a territorial local authority, the council through the mayor should be responsible. It would appear that despite obvious problems, this was not the case at the Waipa District Council. On the 21st of March 2024, the Waipa District Council arranged a public information session rather than a presentation of the various options for residents that would be impacted. On the night before this gathering at the community board meeting this last month, I asked the people present what the council's approach would be to the evening if 250 to 300 people turned up, but they didn't want to change their plans. When 250 to 300 people did turn up at this meeting, the council staff were overwhelmed and they realised that the format and level of detail was inappropriate for what the residents were seeking. We now know that the meeting broke up after being closed down by the council. On the 28th of March 2024, a week after the community board meeting, the Cambridge News had 2 letters from the chair of the Cambridge Community Board and the mayor. The chair of the community board suggested a positive approach to resolving the issues and wrote the following. Firstly, we will be requesting a clear and comprehensive communication plan for the next steps of engagement and for regular updates to be provided to the board. We expect this to be developed between the project team and communications team at Waipa District Council with clear, concise messaging for the community at large. We are urgently recommending to Council that the submission date is extended further by a minimum of 3 months in order to allow both our board and the community to receive detailed answers and information that they require to form their submissions. We also propose that the Cambridge Community Board implement, facilitate and host a detailed question and answer session via video link in order to provide the community with the answers that they require. We propose that the community submits questions in advance and the board liaises directly with the project team in order to understand and then present the information to the community. The mayor, on the other hand, wrote in the same newspaper, however, without our knowledge, a group distributed flyers advertising a public meeting rather than giving residents in the blue zone priority and a chance to find out more. The session descended into emotionally charged gathering which served no one well. Staff and elected members were abused and threatened with violence. These 2 diametrically different responses to the situation is unfortunate that it's indicative of the approach of the 2 bodies representing residents and ratepayers in Cambridge. Nothing was heard from the CEO or mayor for a full 13 days after these 2 conflicting messages were read in the Cambridge News. Then on the 10th of April, after a councillor-only meeting was held, which excluded the general public from the discussions, I received the following from the mayor. I'm writing to let you know that as of today, the proposed bridge location for Cambridge Connection project is off the table. This leaves us with a question of, if this proposal is off the table, will the proposal come back on the table? And even what is on the table now? In watching the council bungle their way through what is a relatively standard process for a long-range project that is critically important to the region and the town, I have come to the conclusion that the Waipa District Council has been involved in a catastrophic organisational failure at all levels of the council. What we have seen is operational staff not doing their job. A complete vacuum at the top of the council executive, and the governance of the council in the form of elected members doing nothing for 13 days before coming out with a very confusing message as to what we do from here. The real concern is that as a result of these missteps, the level of trust between the council and its residents and ratepayers has fallen to zero. We all know once lost, trust is hard to get back. In my view, the council must accept they have significantly contributed to this lack of trust and need to be open, honest, and transparent in their dealings with the public going forward. Throughout this difficult time, the Cambridge Community Board has acted, as was always intended, by being a representative voice of the local community, and it is a role that they have performed admirably over the last 2 months. I would recommend the council take up the Cambridge Community Board's offer of facilitating information sharing discussions with Cambridge residents as a way of building back trust between the residents and the council. Through this process, the council can share what information that is available with residents and ratepayers. This will ensure that there is genuine consultation with the community and ensure that commercially vested interests do not push their weight around. The Community Board has proven that they can act with integrity and respect of the various parties so that we can get the whole process back on track. Let's not let another bridge crossing wallow indefinitely. I commend the Community Board's positive approach to finding a solution to this complex situation regarding an additional bridge crossing the Waikato River, and trust the council itself takes up the suggestions made to create a positive future for our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Pip. Thank you very much. Any questions for, yeah, Mike?
Thanks, Pip. And I didn't think you were too forthright last time. I thought you were great. Okay. So I'm Mike Montgomery. I'm a councillor sitting on the Cambridge Community Board. I'm a full member of the board. So I'm kind of wearing two hats here. But rather than just sit here and say nothing, I did want to respond to a couple of points in there, okay? Because I think it'll be more useful to you and the audience. So the first point was around your criticisms of the process. I accept them, okay? I believe the process has fallen well short of what's required, and that is essentially why the location of the bridge has been taken off the table, and that is for a future date. Okay, so accept your criticism there. Second point I wanted to touch on was your specific question about what is on the table now, and you expressed some confusion about what's on the table now, and so I'm going to just attempt to clarify that. Okay, so this business case that is Cambridge Connections, it's called the program business case. It's much more than just the bridge. It's about how Cambridge is going to work in the medium to long term, okay, from a transport point of view. And it's kind of the first thing you have to establish with Waka Kotahi before you start getting co-funding. You have to make a business case that you've got a problem to solve in the first place. So essentially it's about coming up with an evidence-based statement of the problem and a range of solutions, okay? So what is still on the table is that program business case minus the location of the bridge, okay? And in there, there's possibly more than is immediately apparent because bridge location became the topic. But in there is quite a diverse range of options for how we're going to deal with growth in Cambridge, from status quo through the try and build your way out of it, try and build more roads, through to the option C, which is amplifying mode shift, public transport, those kind of options. Now, that business case where we identify the problem and choose the strategic direction out of those is still a live business case. It still is a coherent piece of work, even without the bridge location in there, okay? So submissions on that are open till 24 May. And, you know, we're really encouraging everyone to still be engaged in that step, okay? I'll stop there. Do you have any questions as a result of that?
It still appears a little bit confusing as to, you know, when you go on the site, you know, they're still talking about options, you know, A, B, C, and D, and you know, I'm thinking I don't quite know what we're consulting on now, and potentially there needs to be some form of reissuance of the guidance, you know, because I think I probably speak for a lot of people to say we're all very confused as to what we're now consulting on.
Andrew?
Pip, you know, I really do support your recommendation that the community board does have more involvement in representing the community, as you said. And in the background, in those 13 days, Jo was consulting with the council to undertake her proposals. I'll go no further than say that, but we were working in the background to make that go ahead.
But you can imagine what the community felt. We've got these two messages out there. We waited 13 days for something, but it was a long time to wait.
Yep, totally
We're
agree.
all buying the Cambridge News every, you know, or going in and getting our Cambridge News every Thursday to sort of see what's happening. Well, the answer is nothing.
Yeah. I'll happily declare that I was on the Cambridge Community, Cambridge Connections in the stakeholder group as a representative from the Cambridge Community Board. I just refer to your comment that you said it was a bungled project and a failure at all levels. In my personal opinion, probably bungled in some respects, but not all. So I just want the community to have some faith in what went on. Maybe there's some issues, as Kerry's raised, about data and about the communication, definitely. Yeah, true. But other aspects of the project I thought were done well, and no, they haven't. It's not been shared with the public, those aspects. But I just want to say that on my behalf. You mentioned about commercial interests having a push on the project, and I just want to say that I don't think that was the case at all. So I just want to reassure people that I don't think that happened. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you, Pip. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Kelly, welcome. Nice to see you. Please put your mic on so everyone can hear you at home. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou. Yeah. Good evening. My name's Kelly Smith. In uncertain times, it's natural to want information, and there has been a complete void of information for the Cambridge Connections project. I want to thank the community board, my neighbours, and my community for requesting and for demanding the information and engagement needed for this project. The council has U-turned on the bridge location and extended feedback. But how did we get into this situation? We got here because there has been multiple ongoing breakdowns in communications and process for this project. It started with the front page headline, the single letter from Mr. Hudson to only residents in the blue zone, the bias towards the in-town bridge, the lack of understanding that a bridge carrying 26,000 units a day through a community would have a strong response. That's one car, truck, bus every 4 seconds, day and night, through an existing neighbourhood. That by the time it is even built, it will be at capacity if Victoria Bridge closes. We have had a shambolic public meeting. We've had the Mayor blame the community who distributed flyers. We've had multiple changes to the feedback date. All 3 options were on the table, and now all bridge locations are off the table. What are we actually submitting feedback on? All the options were developed in the context of the 2 bridge locations and the traffic modelling that has been done. Road building to manage congestion will never meet the project's multi-criteria assessment and the objectives of Waka Kotahi's standards for funding. So is this still a coherent piece of work? This is a call to action to the Cambridge Community Board and to my community. How is the council going to undo the damage they have caused? The damage to the community by releasing the maps with the highlighted areas, and the damage to the trust and credibility of the council and their processes. What are they going to do to prevent this from happening again? In the absence of information, we have lodged numerous official information requests, and most of the answers that we've received have only led to more questions. Usually, before a project goes out for public feedback, it would be absolutely scrutinised, road tested. Any doubts or gaps would have been considered and accounted for. So that leads me to ask, did anyone from the steering group or the project ask the same questions that we've been asking? What input did the community board and the councillors have as representees of our community? Was it not their role to talk about all the amazing opportunities, but also highlight the risks? We must have authentic representation that has influence. I wouldn't be here today speaking to you if this had happened. When the bridge is pinned on the map and the people impacted need to understand the context, the why, they need to have all the information, and they need to be afforded the legal rights as landowners when large infrastructure projects are needed. A blue zone published on the front page of the paper in a single letter in the mailbox 3 weeks later doesn't cut it. The actions from the council are still not cutting it. Removing the bridge from this round of feedback does nothing to make this issue disappear. To the councillors here, when the bridge decision needs to be made, I want you to be absolutely certain that the location is supported by a community-focused, robustly discussed business case that's developed with full transparency. At the moment, it's not. I am calling for a project that puts equal time into people and data. The only way to do this is to include us, not to marginalise us or pass us off as just another NIMBY, but to see us as engaged and willing people who want to work together on this community issue. Ngā mihi. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. I really just stay there. I'm sure there'll be a question for you. I just really acknowledge the stress and emotion that I got from you in that. I really want to acknowledge that there are a lot of people feeling that around this plan. Now, was there a comment? Mike, please. Yes, please. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you, Kelly. I've got a lot of sympathy with practically everything you said, okay? So I just wanted to touch on 3 points. The how did we get here question. As a governor, I've been obviously reflecting and contemplating exactly the same question, okay? And as an organisation, that's kind of what we're turning our minds to. You know, when something like this happens, you've got to assess what went wrong, and you've got to look at what you need to change going forward to get it right. Okay, so that's kind of the headspace that we're in, and I think the organisation's kind of in at the moment. Okay, and you know, you've made really good points about, for example, I picked up on risk. You're saying how come no one was looking at the risks, and so that is a very specific question that we've asked. We have a enterprise risk management framework. Yep. And exactly that question's been asked. How did this project get through that net? One of our top risks is failing to adequately engage with our community. Okay, it's one of our top risks, and yet it got through. So organisationally, these are the kind of questions we're asking. I acknowledge that it kind of looks like it's taking a little while, but that's what we're working through at the moment, okay? And finally, your point about the issue doesn't disappear, and I fully acknowledge that. By taking the bridge location off this business case, it doesn't go away. That business case will have to come back because we have to confront this decision as a community. And so that is, I can't say when, but it's the next thing after this business case is complete. That's the next thing we will be starting to look at in this space, okay? And I'm very, very keen that we take the lessons from this and we make sure that next time round, it's a process that's going to satisfy exactly the sort of things you've been asking for, okay? I'll probably stop there. Any questions?
Yeah, I just want to add that in the project implementation plan, one of the risks identified was that this wouldn't land well with the community. So I'd just like to point that out. And the other thing that I had to say was that it doesn't, even though we're going to move forward from this, there's still been damage done. And I think that's good that you've acknowledged that. So thank you.
Any further questions for Kelly before she? We might have one more for you, sorry. Just.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you. And same as Mike, I just acknowledge everything you said and agree with you. I can't answer your main question there about how to fix the damage that's done, but I just want to refer to one comment you made about a bias towards in-town bridges that just spiked my ears. And just in that context solely alone, not anything else about what you've said. Some information that was provided to the stakeholder group, I could just, and you'd all know this already, the growth of the Cambridge town is supposed to be 87% extra between 2017 and 2050. That's the town of Cambridge. And the whole of Waipa, there's going to be more than 7,800 additional dwellings, and I'm sure at least half those will be in Cambridge. And there's a mandated need and demand for density intensification in the town of Cambridge itself. So those are just some of the context about possibly location. I'm not saying that affected the group. And going to detail them, just saying that's information that was given. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate that. Adele, welcome.
A little while coming.
Make sure that mic's on.
I'll just say that this is 7 minutes and 40 seconds. I timed it at home, practicing on mum.
It's okay. Welcome.
Mike, sorry, not Alex. I will acknowledge your clarification regarding the business case and option C, because in my eyes, option C actually does have some good things in it. It was just the initial location of a big lumpy bridge. So yeah, right, I'll hook into it. My name is Adele Heastand, and I reside with my parents on Ihumai Terrace in River Gardens. My bedroom looks out over the Greenbelt, where I get lovely sunrises in the morning over the trees and two of the greenbelt and two of the archaeological burrow pits within that greenbelt. My parents built a home in 2009 against that greenbelt after asking council if it would be built on at any point, with which the answer was it is a greenbelt for recreation. They paid a premium for their section due to the location against the greenbelt. Some of the bird life we enjoy are tuis, moorhawks, hawks, fantails, pheasants, song thrushes, and plenty of other species. I thank the council for the letter on the 10th of April. This has certainly given us some relief. However, it has not diminished the fact that we do need an additional bridge, and we do need to ensure that we get a bridge that doesn't affect the current residential areas. To say that an additional bridge in Cambridge in the long term is decades in the making doesn't sit well with me. It is somewhat minimising the heartache and upset that has been caused to the constituents sitting directly under the blue blob and surrounding areas that may have invested, that many people have invested in to make their home. Since the first news article in early March this year, I am amazed at how much research individuals are completing to be able to understand. Even then, it is still not enough, and it continues every other day. Cambridge Town Concept Plan was last adopted in June 2010 with a refresh that came through in September 2019. Why was it even considered and proposed to the constituents for option B and C to put a roading and a bridge through a town belt? When the refresh from September 2019, part 3.1.1, action 4 on page 15 suggests that the residents need access to quality open spaces. It seems contradictory to the values of the community and doesn't align at all with what this open space should be used for, recreation. It does, however, fall in line with the preliminary program in the medium-term goal of scoping. That's on page 25. E-maps online indicate the district plan maps became operative 17th of August 2017 with a revision to be on the 2nd of April 2024. This seems to me just a little bit coincidental with everything that has taken place in the last couple of months. I'll repeat that date for you, 2nd of April 2024. The more I look at the e-maps online and the more I am asking the question, why was the roading space not designated 15 plus years ago when the last concept plan was released? Apparently, there had been multiple sites identified according to the meeting we attended on the 21st of March. Well, where are they? The council has known for years that at some point there would be a need to add an additional bridge for the town and wider district to cater for the growth of which is occurring on both the Cambridge and Leamington side. That said, why is council not asking the Leamington residents and the wider district directly where they think a good bridge location could be, along with what their actual needs are, rather than assuming everyone wants to go to Cambridge Town Centre while riding a bike or mobility scooter? The traffic report has certainly assumed quite a bit, without taking into account the new growth cells of C4 and in future C11. C5 and C6 is catered for by the Ferguson Bridge, which we all know needs a little bit extra work as well. And even then, access to Hamilton is only through Cambridge. Why is the assumption taken of where we would like the bridge to be based on a traffic movement report that took place during a time when there was a red light setting? Thank you, Kerry, for your research. At 3:30 p.m, traffic is backed up considerably at the Victoria Street Hamilton Road roundabout, with a lot of traffic coming from St Peters, Velodrome and beyond. Going over multiple frustrating speed humps, how many of these vehicles are from the Leamington side? Why is it that the initial preferred option thought it was okay to uproot and destroy existing homes, some of which are considered to be of historical significance to the character of Cambridge and its wide tree-lined streets? Does this make sense to council that it would subject its constituents to the ups and downs? Is it not written in the Cambridge Town Concept Plan Refresh 2019, page 5, that vehicle traffic crosses town to access the state highway and encourage through traffic, such as commuters, to go around the town centre? If we could alleviate that right now, where would you place the additional bridge to do that? The most logical place is part of option A that was suggested. That location is bang on in terms of creating space for people who live on the Leamington side to access the state highway north more easily. That proposed bridge location for the Cambridge Connection project can be on the table. It would alleviate the congestion that is taking place in our picturesque town, ensure that the established neighbourhoods which have distinct characteristics are not impacted in any way, and uphold the character of Cambridge that is highly valued. The plan for the bridge is happening now. The land which does not have established housing on it needs to be recognised, negotiated, secured, and designated now. The latest traffic reports that have been taken will be interesting. I hope the numbers truly reflect and model what many people observe. And the key to all of this, and what I thought would have been one of the initial things to be completed, will be the geotechnical report. Add that to the business case. Once council has that, it would be appreciated that all key stakeholders, including ratepayers and residents, have this information reported to them in a timely manner before the media gets it. That way we are kept in the loop and can work alongside council on this journey. And to finish, I will read to you 2 points from the Cambridge Town Concept Plan 2010, page 4. Wide tree-lined streets provide a continuous link to an extensive network of well-used green spaces that support a range of passive and active recreational opportunities. A diverse, open and inclusive community that is easily accessible, where residents and visitors feel safe. A neighbourhood means caring and supportive citizens.
Thank you very much, Adele. Thank you. Any comments from the board? Questions? No? Very self-explanatory. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you. Right, that was all on my speaking list, but I'm aware there may be people who would like to speak and have a few moments. If that's you, please give me a wave. Please, welcome. Just make sure your mic's on so we can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening to you all. My name's Craig from Cambridge. Myself, my wife and my 2 children have lived in this beautiful town for the last 23 years, and we emigrated from England overseas, and we've thoroughly enjoyed here. While we've been living here, we've obviously travelled to other places, talked to people, and everybody says, where do you live and things like that. People understand that Cambridge is quite unique. It is a beautiful, beautiful town that needs a lot of consideration with its future growth. Sadly, I feel this has just been dropped on us like a bombshell, and there's no direction as to what we're going. And I'm asking the council, what is the general case for you all? Do you want the traffic coming through town, which is the one you're on the blue option, or do you want the traffic going out of town? As the bridge is built, no one's really asked the question. This bridge is going to be big. It's going to take heavier traffic. Why do we want to bring it into town if it is passing through? I spoke to some of the guys at the meeting over the hall the other day, the Becker guys, and they said they got the information from the people's phones. No one's actually sat and looked. People drive into Cambridge from the Leamington side, get a cup of coffee, and then drive out of town. Most of the people, myself, I work at the hospital, and I commute to Hamilton. The road, the new road that goes round Hamilton works well. And I think that would work well for Cambridge. I just want to know clearly, you know, how big is this bridge going to be, and the disruption and not all that, the traffic that everybody doesn't want. There's no argument there needs to be a third bridge. But to preserve this town, we need professional people, and we need them to do their job properly. And I don't think this has been handled very well at all, like most of the people here in this room and at the other meetings. And when we've put our cases forward, we've been shut down, which I find very, very sad. And I just ask the council, as a person who's lived here 23 years with a wife and 2 children, please think about what you're doing. Do you want, the big question for me is, do you want the traffic in town or do you want the traffic out of town? We don't need unnecessary traffic coming through town, hence the motorway. People talked about the motorway, or Cambridge would die. Could you imagine the conundrum would be all faced now if that happened? So if you're going to build this bridge, and sadly, you know, you are running out of spaces to build it, like the other lady said, you guys need to sort of like get switched on and find that piece of land that's going to work. And the main question is, what you want to answer people is, are we going to have the traffic going through town or out of town? Because there's no doubt about it, it's going to be a bigger bridge. There's K&F freighters from the other side of the road that have truck and trailers. No one's asked the question, how big is this bridge going to be? Is it going to be able to take the K&F freighters trucks? And if that is that what we really want for Cambridge? And that's all I've got really to say.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Do you want to add to that? You got anything else for that?
I think the bridge would not be the defining factor on the traffic that use it. That's about how, like they're doing on Hamilton Road there, you know, they can use all sorts of ways to build a roadscape to control what sort of traffic. The bridge would probably likely be built for anything, and then they can and tailor the use of it with other methods would be my point of view on that.
Over the last period of months, I mean, there's been substantial roadwork going on outside the new housing development. I mean, that has turned into a shambles. The road's never been done. We seem to be concentrating more on the footpath than doing the road. You've made that road narrower. You've put speed humps in it, and yet you're still sort of like trying to say you want to get traffic coming through town. It does not make sense. It just does not make sense. If we value our children and green spaces, and also, you know, the people riding and walking, which is the general rule of thumb for the future, why has this option been chosen? And more so to the fact is, how long are you guys going to keep it over the people's head? Are you going to make a declaration? Because anybody who wants to sell a house in that area now at this moment in time, obviously it'll come up on a LIM report. There's possibly going to be a thing going on. 5, 10, 15 years is too long for most people. It has to be done right. There's no arguments regarding that. But you can't hold people, you know, the gun over people's heads for that long, because it just is not fair. People, like I say, have invested in the town. Another question I would like to ask is, where is the council going to get the money from to buy all these houses off people? Is it going to be the ratepayer? If you're going to rebuild co-share houses, who's going to pay for that? How's the council going to pay for that? And that's the question that people are sat here wondering, is our house going to be repulsed? Is it going to be in 5, 10, 15 years or not at all? Is it fair for that, what you guys have done? And sadly, I totally and utterly disagree with how it's been handled. And I think it's been handled very poorly and could have been handled a lot better, for sure. And I'd like to say thank you very much for that. That's as far as I'm concerned. It's just straightforward stuff with me, not the fancy stuff.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. Thank you. You might leave me. No. Good evening. Welcome. How are you?
Good.
That's good.
I'll not be long. And you can tell by my accent, I'm not from this part of New Zealand.
It's okay.
I've lived in Cambridge about 46 years, and We first come here from Belfast and we thought, oh, small town, and that's settled here. See, now I wouldn't leave it. I love it. And it annoys me when I see what's happening to it, you know? And the fact that we waited till we got the expressway built to take all the traffic off the Hamilton Road. Now they're going to bring it all back. But also they're going to bring it back. They're going to bring it back with heavy trucks and trailers. I often wonder, do the council actually really know what they're doing? You know what I mean? Sometimes I say to myself, I say, you know, and these are the people tell Irish jokes. And is there such a thing as a paper road the council's got? Pardon?
Yeah, it's one through Greenbelt, up Oak Terrace.
So you do have a paper road, a road that you can build on anything, is that right? No, I mean,
Look, I can't accurately answer that, so I'm not going to, okay?
so there is a paper road.
No,
The road runs through the side of the Greenbelt up the top, Oak Terrace.
Yeah, or across the river.
Well, it heads towards the river.
But if you've got a paper road, paper trail, you can move it one way or the other, can't you, a little bit? So you're not really answering the question.
I'm not answering the question because I can't. And yeah.
Oh, if you're a councillor, you should be able to answer that question. Yeah.
We can
you know?
absolutely find that out for you.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
that's what I've heard, you know.
yes, yeah. If you leave your email address, I can make sure I get that answer for you and get
Yeah.
that to you.
So my concern is that there's big money developers further north that are putting a squeeze on that this road's going to be further south. And that's my concern. That there's big money developers up there who are saying, no, you can't have it here. Put it further down into town. Now, you've got a cycleway there. Somebody mentioned the cycleway. You said something about the roads. We're going to control the trucks and the movement of the traffic on the roads. You can't even control cars driving up the cycleway. I live on a Hamilton Road and I've seen cars flying up it. I've rang the council and told them, oh yeah, we'll look into it. And that's as far as it gets. So there's no way you're going to control trucks or anything over that bridge. It's going to be open slaughter. So let's call a spade a spade. It's not going to happen. You're going to say whatever you need to say, not talking about you personally, but the council. You're going to say whatever you need to say to get this passed. And then once it's passed, once it's started to get built, it's too late. It'll never be back. And once you build it, you can never unbuild it. You know what I mean? It's there for life. And there's kids and families live along that Hamilton Road or any road you're going to do this in with kiddies. And you're going to have all this heavy traffic down that road. I think you really need to take a long, hard look at yourselves, what you're doing. I'm sorry now, but I just had to get that off my chest.
Thank you so much. Oh, no. Yeah. Please. I've just got Joe coming around to get your email, sir, because I want to be able to connect with you. Thank you. Another Joe, different Joe. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Warwick Roberts. I was born in Cambridge. I've spent 82 years here. Whenever I go somewhere, they ask, where do you live? I say, Cambridge. What a wonderful town. And we're very much in the throes of, I think, destroying it. Some of the advice you've received is what I think is suspect. We have a roundabout, the Church of England corner, which is totally inadequate. It was designed, I'm not sure who gave you the advice, but it certainly doesn't handle what it was supposed to handle. In fact, I think it's something like 10 years out of date. And now we have, I understand, a roundabout at Hatapu, which will not take big trucks. This is real concern. If this is the sort of engineering that we're going to get as part of this Connect Cambridge, then we are really in trouble. Does everyone want to comment?
Does anyone want to comment? Happy for you to comment, Mike, if you'd like to.
Oh, look, your concerns are noted, okay? I can't give you decent answers on those right now, so I won't. But
Well, I can add a comment that CNR cannot get their big trucks around that roundabout. They've been told to go on the other side of the road. Now, if this is the sort of road building that we're doing in this county, then what are we looking forward to? I'm thankful that you've taken the bridges off the list, because I think that Kerry's obviously brought your attention that some of the statistics that you were using are wrong. And I understand, Andrew, that, you know, you sat on that and took that information as, I guess, honest and correct. And obviously it's not. And this is where it's going to lead to. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Art. Thank you. See anyone else that would like to speak? Anyone standing outside, sir, please? Oh, and then I'll come to you, Jared. Good evening. Nice to see you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Ian Beer and I'm married to Danielle Shard, who's spoken last time. And I really would just like to reiterate some of the points like she made, and that is that in analysing how one would rearrange traffic flows around, it's a very good idea to go around the communities rather than through them and destroy some of those homes. The traffic is going to go where the roads go. It's sort of self-evident, and it's very important, I think, that we have a road that is built on a greenfield site that goes around Cambridge and that allows reticulation into it as required, but not to have heavy traffic going through the middle of town. We've only just been enjoying having State Highway 1 removed over the expressway, and it's been fantastic. It's been great, although I realise that there are a lot more people in town and the place is pretty busy still. But one of the things about this process is that it does seem to have landed on our plate rather suddenly, and I would like to say thank you to you personally, Joe. Your article in the Cambridge News was, and it's been mentioned before, that it is a breath of fresh air and leadership to have somebody say, well, let's think about this again, and let's consult properly, and let's expand the time out to say at least 3 months. The shorter time of a month that was initially offered over Easter really was, I thought it smacked of subterfuge to try and get it done so quickly. It wasn't right. It doesn't look right. I've also learned in finding out that there have been plans put to council in the past to build a bridge on a greenfield site, and that was actually presented earlier on, but pre-COVID, and was turned down. And I understand councillors who live in Cambridge who supported this project were asked to button up. That's the sort of thing that just, again, I'm just wondering what is going on here. It's these major routes and traffic flows should be going around our established neighbourhood, not through the middle of it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. Nice to see you. Any comments? Any comments for Ian? No? Okay. Thank you so much. Jared, welcome. Good evening.
Tēnā koutou. It's good to see you all again. Thank you. Thank you for hearing us. Thank you for, as Ian said, the few of us that came last week or last month and spoke feel that we were heard. Thank you for hearing us again. I've helped organise a small group of neighbours online, and I'd put a poll, a completely unscientific poll to them, and I just wanted to bring back a couple of things from that. So thank you for the reset. The top two things that people were interested in, they want to know the timeline for the bridge. They still want a bridge. They want to know when it's happening. That'll help. Some uncertainty's been removed. There's more to still go. So that's my sense of what that response is. The other one is they want to be consulted. They want to be part of the process.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Jared. That was great. Any questions? Yes, please, Mike.
Thanks, Jared. I think I've probably dealt with the consultation issue previously. Are you happy with that thinking?
Thank you.
Okay. And the timeline for the bridge, obviously, the next big question after this business case is completed, I've said that has to happen after that. I can't at this stage be specific because the organisation hasn't been, but that's the thing we need to, after this business case, turn our mind to. Okay, that's assuming that Waka Kotahi accept the program business case that we do have a business case for this program, including another bridge. Then we turn our mind to that as a specific
I don't think these need immediate questions. They're just the questions that people have,
So-
they want to take into the council.
Thank you. Noted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to say anything about anything? It doesn't have to be Cambridge Connections. Please, sir. Welcome. I think you're on. Now you're off. Go again. Now you're on. Perfect.
My name's John Leanhart. I live in Leamington. I'm involved in traffic management. That's what I do. My concern is what everyone else has been reiterating here is getting traffic that doesn't need to be in Cambridge, outside of Cambridge. Working in Taronga and in Hamilton on major projects. My concern is in 20 years' time, where is the traffic going to be and how is it going to be handled from a highway perspective? Is there going to be an access to the state highway from Tyrrell Road? Instead of only going to the right, are we able to turn left? Is traffic coming from Hamilton able to turn onto Tyrrell Road? Because that would alleviate a lot of traffic coming into Cambridge. And the people in the large trucks that don't need to be here can actually take that as a bypass. Then again, we need to have a look at infrastructure to make sure the roads can actually handle it, because as we know, potholes are a fact of life, and they don't need to be there. The other side of the coin is getting traffic off the highway before the Cambridge Road intersection where the Z service station is. Is there an option on the table for that, so that traffic can actually alleviate? I haven't seen any long-term planning that actually incorporates that. And all we seem to be looking at is a local perspective, which is brilliant, but that needs to fit into a longer-term scenario. How does it fit into a 25-year plan for how we're going to handle traffic for the longer term? Because I think the whole issue of satellite cities, if you're looking at a Sydney perspective, it's all about amalgamation now. So communities now are no longer separate, they're now entwined in each other. And the localness of or uniqueness of a community like Leamington and Cambridge gets swallowed up in a huge metroplex. So that's my concern from a traffic management scenario. And because all I can see in the community when I drive through it is major works. But all we seem to be doing is putting a Band-Aid on something that's already bleeding. And there's no, as far as I can see, there's no thought or knowledge that we have of where we're going as a community outside of that. Because we're all talking about increased people coming through, the amount of population that we're going to be having. And I'm looking at it going, the on and off ramps coming into the community aren't there. And they need to be, I don't know what the council has knowledge of. Is State Highway 1 going to become another option on Tyrrell Road? I'm not sure.
Thank you, John. Andrew?
We have met with Waka Kotahi about that very interchange. And while they don't have the budget for it now, and they say it costs $20 million to put on ramps, the southern interchange for Cambridge there, but they do say in building the expressway from Cambridge to Pirrie, that would have to be cost and budget, and they could include on-ramps in a redesign there. So, yeah, hopefully we get one behind ourselves. If that goes ahead, we'll get into that hard. Yeah.
I'll refrain from making any comment on that. I'm a realist. Okay. I'm someone who likes action rather than promises. And I think most of us here are like that. Words are cheap. Actions speak louder than words. But if Waka Kotahi or NZTA, if you want to call them the old school, if they basically turn around and say, yes, this is part of that, how will that affect the plan? Have we incorporated that as part of the plan?
Yes, they're involved in the stakeholder group.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Please, welcome. Good evening. Nice to see you. Yep, just push that purple button, the talk one.
Hi, I'm Michelle Willis. I'm actually the chaplain for St John Ambulance. And as you can see, I've got a broken leg and I've been on both ends of the ambulance. And I must say, can somebody please think about taking away the bumps in on the way to the One, because as a patient in the ambulance, it's really uncomfortable when you hit those bumps and you really need to get to the hospital pretty quickly. And two, as an ambulance driver and person in the back of the ambulance, you've got this willowing kind of feeling going through. There's also so many streets that I'm totally aware that we need places for the bikes and that, but I live on the corner of Queen Street and Grays Avenue. And for us, we have to, instead of going straight out our door and down into down to Grays Street and then on to the Hamilton Road, we've got to go all the way down to Vogel Street. And so we have to miss two roads now. And at the moment, we can only go straight up Queen Street. And there's all these things coming in where we've got rooms for parking, but it's right next to a very narrow street going down Bryce Street, and it's getting quite congested down there already. And along our street, we've got so much traffic that we never used to have, and so we would be in the blue area, and we've got lots of traffic now, and I don't know how it would be a fair thing to send them all down that street coming up from Carter's Flat over the top and through Queen Street. So yeah, I'd just like you to consider the bumps for the emergency services and take them down so that so there's not that real back and bumpiness and stuff. Yeah, think about some of the emergency services.
Thank you, Rochelle. Just before you go, as part of that Cambridge Pathways plan, St John and the fire service were stakeholders in that, so they were consulted about that plan from the beginning. Whether or not some of those bumps now need to be looked at now that they're installed, whether they are still appropriate is a different story. And I am part of that urban mobility conversation that goes on with council, so I will make sure that I take that back to them. I know that the one on Hamilton Road outside the athletics ground, that was constructed and then it was changed again because it was too steep. So perhaps they do need to look at some of those other ones if it is feeling too steep for the ambulance service and indeed the patients inside. Does anyone have any comments on Rochelle's points about? No? Yes, put your mic on, Phil. Oh, push it again, sorry.
Thank you again. Yeah, I
I was told today by the emergency services that Hamilton Road is their preference to leave Cambridge to go to Hamilton rather than Victoria Road. So I
Yep.
support that too, plus many other reasons for that as well. Because, you know, with eventually when that roundabout does go in a year, there's going to be an underpass there. You get 3 bumps, plus you've got traffic lights. So it's a massive.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'll make sure I take that back to that urban mobility group for sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you, Rochelle. Anyone else? Please. Good evening. I can see that microphone's still on, so you don't need to push any buttons. Nice to see you.
Hello, my name is Brenda.
Brenda.
We've been in Cambridge for 3 years now. It was exciting to come to Cambridge. When you told anyone you were coming to Cambridge, oh, you're so lucky. Such a lovely place and trees and vibrant. And I loved Cambridge when I got here. It's not so funny anymore. Now they've got this bit of a different thing, 60 minutes to park. And they fine you if you take longer. It's not pleasant. I can't park my car, shop, have a coffee, meet my friends, get in my car and go home. It's not enough time. Yesterday I was in Mitre 10. Mitre 10 has its own parking. 90 minutes for one shop. Now they give me 20 shops. Maybe I like to shop, maybe I don't. For 60 minutes. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. I don't know anywhere else where they make you park for 60 minutes. Even when you pay for your parking, the first 2 hours free, and then you got to pay for parking. This 60 minutes is unpleasant. It's unpleasant. My poor daughter, she's got 2 little kids. She's very active in the library here. They come to heaps of stuff. Now, where must she park? She must park, move her car so she can go and buy her eggs, move her car so she can go do that. What's the point? She wants to teach the kids to walk, to do, and get back to your car. You can't do it in 60 minutes. It's not a huge thing for the council. They clip all your stupid little 60-minute signs off and change it to 2 hours, at least 2 hours. It should be free. Fielding is free. We came from Palmerston North. I know free. I enjoyed Palmy. I come here, I expect better. They chop half the trees down, put these bumps and lumps, and I'm very annoyed. Cambridge has lost its vibe. It's lost its mojo. I've lost my, I'm so happy to be here. I really am unhappy.
Well, a vibrant CBD and certainly a parking strategy is something that the Cambridge Community Board are really actively advocating for. It's something that we feed back to council often. We've written submissions on it, everything from more park benches and more water fountains to a proper parking strategy to making sure the vibrancy of our town is maintained and encouraged. So I absolutely hear you, and I will take those thoughts further. And yes, you're right. We do want a town where everyone can come and they can linger and they can enjoy this beautiful town we have. And so I certainly understand where you're coming from.
Thank you. I can add another thing is that my husband is not as mobile as I am, but he's not ready for a mobility sticker.
Yes.
He's certainly not ready for a mobility scooter either.
Yes.
But I want to leave him sitting there while I go and do my stuff.
Of course.
This hour is not suitable.
Yes.
But I hear you and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Really
No
appreciate that. Any questions? No? Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say at all? Anyone outside? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Do you want to just ask if there's anyone?
Hey, for those of you who are still here, I just want to say big thanks for how you've shown up tonight. You know, this is how like. Thanks to Joe and the camps. Was that all?
To say it all again. Andrew, did you want to make?
Yes, to follow on from Mike. Mike was just thanking everybody for engaging and being involved. But I would like to say that I'd happily meet with anybody that spoke tonight. And I was born and bred in Cambridge. I've lived in Cambridge most of my life. I'm passionate about Cambridge and the right solutions for Cambridge. I want to be involved in the projects relating to the traffic and the bridge going forward. Whether I get chosen to or not is a different story, but I want to talk to you. I want to find out what you think. I want to find out what the best solution is. I want to be involved. And I know a lot already and I want to know more. So just into that.
Thank you, Andrew. That goes for really all of us on the board. That's our job. That's our role, is to be the voice of the community, and that's great. Thank you. Philip?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to thank also everyone coming tonight, and more than happy to meet up with any of you individually or in groups. And like we were sort of saying, it's really essential we work closer with the community on this and many other subjects as well, topics. There's so much to add to everything that everybody's said tonight and other times on this and many other things. So more than happy to catch up with any of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Good evening. Hello.
I'm Robin Watson, and I married a Cambridge boy that grew up here, was born here. My children were all schooled and, born and grew up here. We farmed out of the area, Magantartri, but life goes on, and I find I'm on my own now. So we bought a house in town and sold the farm and what have you. So that's all right. I bought in, see what I mean? Bryce Street.
Right.
And very happily there, and I can ride my bike if I want to, and I can walk to town if I want to, and that's good. I walk down here, which I thought they want to encourage, all very
Great.
well. But now I'm having my front lawn dug up. Absolutely a mess. I've got photos if you want to, because they've even put a dig into the tree roots. And they've got a footpath and a double bike path. And then these parking bays, they say, that are there that fit 1.5 cars on most of them, if you're lucky. The street seems to be full of renters and owners behind, the original street homes facing the street. So there's cars, wanting parks. There's more unnecessary sort of parking. It just hurts so much because my house is on a small section, so they've cut right to the boundary and they're digging this channel for the path at the moment. So it's just, I don't know, it was just such a lovely place to be. And they've moved trees, which are sort of such a character of Cambridge, and they're building sort of over the roots, which I think must affect the trees. They'll probably die in the end anyway, so they're going to, encourage that. And I just wonder what these people are, who they are. Do they live here? Do they know the place? Do they, are they always just playing with their, drawings of, roads and whatever? I don't know. I just do not. The bike path, I think, is a good idea. It's fine. Do that, and then the tree would be quite safe on its own, and there'd be room for it, but not putting a footpath there. When there's one on the other side of the road, surely you can sort of walk to there. There's not many places really that have a bike path and a footpath. They share. And yes, and go into schools and teach them how to sort of acknowledge if you're coming on your bike, that you ring your bell or make a noise or something to ask people to move aside, which they do overseas and, Belgium and places like that. We spend quite a bit of time there. So, it just, to me, it's unnecessary and it's ugly and it's against everything that's Cambridge to me. So that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make sure those comments are heard. Thank you.
And the bridge, of course.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. If there's no one else that wishes to speak, I'm just going to close our public forum. Don't think there was anyone out there. Thank you so much for everyone who has come to listen, to support, to speak. We have this public forum before all of our meetings. You're welcome to come back. You're welcome to email me directly, call me. My details are all publicly listed, and or any of the members of the board. That's our job. So you're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting for our agenda and our business. Otherwise, please stay in contact if that's what you wish. Thank you. Thanks, Pip. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm just also going to adjourn our meeting now, just for, I'm going to say 15 minutes, actually, 8:15. Thank you. Right, after that short little adjournment, we are now going to move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. That the Cambridge Community Board confirms the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of March is circulated with the agenda as true and correct record of proceedings. I'm happy with that. Can someone second for me, please? Alana? Oh, no.
It's one little typo, Joe, but I can email you about it.
Yeah, I'll just say subject to the or typographical errors. At the end of that
And
recommendation.
with that, I'm happy to second.
Okay, excellent. All in favour? Thank you. Right. Right, enhanced annual plan. Welcome, Melissa and Brad. Nice to see you. Thank you for waiting around after that very long public forum. We really appreciate the staying late to present this report to us. And we'll just going to get it about. Hand over to you, Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you. So through the chair, just provide a brief overview of the report. So the report is presenting the enhanced annual plan, which is now open for consultation until the 26th of April. So circulated as part of this agenda item is the consultation document, which includes details on council's financial picture, including the significant impacts as a result of the growth experiencing in the district. And as part of the consultation document, there is kind of a broad-based consultation question in terms of have we got the balance right? Have we got the financial balance right? The second consultation topic is seeking feedback on the Cambridge Water Tower. I won't go into too much detail, but basically the two options there are, do we restore the water tower at a cost of $6 million, or do we demolish it, noting that it is prone to earthquake risk? So that is attached to the report, and also attached to the report is the full capital and operating schedules, which provide details of the specific projects which are included in the work program for the current or coming financial year. Otherwise, happy to take the report as read.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. Overall, the community board felt it was a really spot on budget. Obviously, there are some unfortunate economic times that we're going through, and that has meant some rate rises, and that has meant some pausing of projects and other things. But on the whole, the budget itself is really straightforward. Also really appreciated it being in this nice form. I was reading it online for a while and a lot of numbers and a lot of data, and I found it a little bit confusing. I came down to council, I got this, I read it cover to cover, and it was so clear. So thank you for producing it like this. Yeah, no, it was really good. Okay, so now, Joe, what would you like us to do? Do you want us to go through a few points? We need to kind of discuss a little bit our first thoughts around the draft enhanced annual plan. Obviously, the library, a new Cambridge library, is something that we have been really advocating for. That project would be paused in this budget. Any comments around that, just to get that started? Sue, please put your mic on.
I think that's really disappointing. I think at the moment it's not fair, firstly on the staff working in very cramped conditions, and it's certainly not fair on the community our size, where a lot of people are using the library, and we basically have a very tiny library for population that we have, and I just think we really need to get our act together, and particularly in these times when, for many people, the only way they're going to get reading material is if they can get to the library. Books are not cheap. At least a library, when they get a certain discount when they buy books, but ordinary members of the public don't. I mean, a kid's book, you're starting at about $18. And I just think we've got to do better than that for our community. If we want to, if we want to consider ourselves to be a civilized community, and things like reading just access to information. We've
Mm.
got to have a library that is for everybody, not
So
just
what-
for the elite.
So what I'm hearing from you is you're accepting of the pause of the library due to the circumstances,
Yeah.
but that we still need to be advocating that project
Absolutely.
carries on in some capacity, or there is future planning for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because
Okay.
the other thing about the library is it is a community centre.
Absolutely. A very well used one. Yep.
And that's the thing, you can come in here off into the library often on a weekday and there will be people, oh, look, there's so-and-so. It is a community centre. It's
Absolutely.
more than, say, the town hall will ever be a
Yes.
community centre.
Yep. Okay. Right. Any other comments around that? Okay. The water tower is another one that it is a specific, yeah. Thoughts on the water tower? Yeah, Lana?
I'd certainly like to acknowledge that the community is very split on that issue. Based on just the numbers at the moment, it certainly looks like the better option would be to demolish it. But it's probably something else that's going to have a lot of emotion behind people's thoughts on that. And are we sure that we will actually be able to demolish it in terms of permissions?
That could be some questions that we can make sure is
Yeah.
in our feedback and our submission around the timing, the length of time that would take, what would be the plans of what would go there instead if it were to be demolished. Those are all really good questions we could put.
Mhm.
I'm sure that will be part of the process of information, hopefully that comes through this budget, but certainly that's something that we can be, putting in there. What's next if that decision is made? What does demolition look like? How long does it take? What are the, if it is a heritage too, perhaps Ken, you can.
Yeah, look, a lot of those questions can be answered pretty readily. So, obviously we've been working on this for a very, very long time. Alana, a very essential component of being able to demolish it is to actually get a resource consent for demolition. Look, that's going to be really, really quite difficult to work through because it's very, very likely that Heritage New Zealand will obviously oppose that. And of course there's also potentially community sentiment, which will, you noted it's a deeply divisive issue. So there'll be a lot of community sentiment against demolition as well. There will be a lot of community sentiment saying, just demolish it. We don't want to spend $6 million. But look, there will be a lot of hoops to jump through. We would expect that if the decision is to move ahead with the demolition, there'll be a good year and a half of work in terms of seeking to get that resource consent for demolition. So but some of those other questions can easily be answered as well. But by all means, pose them to council and we can come back.
Okay, thank you. Any further thoughts, Lana? Yeah, if you want to bring up another point in the budget, that's great.
I just had a couple of questions. I don't know if you'll be able to find it in the budget stuff. Do you know what the major events line is under comms? What does it actually cover?
I'm gonna get it.
Should I go? I may answer it really badly. I don't know, but but look, I think the name kind of says it all. So this is larger events that are actually going to make quite a significant difference to the district. But look, I'm probably struggling to think of any to think of the examples of ones that have attracted that funding before. But I think these are ones that will bring people into the community for that event. My recollection, it was set up maybe 6-7 years ago. That major events fund. Just making it distinct from some of our other funding mechanisms. Yes, I
It's your
believe it
mind.
is. So the DPF, the District Promotion Fund, is that's been in existence for a very, very long time. But actually, that's a really good point. This is kind of for the tier above that, to bring some much larger scale events, and then what that is able to attract.
So would that last major event have been the World Rowing Champs, for example?
Yeah, so through the chair, so I think that's a great example of something that would potentially qualify for this. However, I can pretty categorically say that this event fund didn't exist at the time. Yeah, it didn't exist at the time, but it's to cover that sort of event. Look, there will be really clear criteria on our website. I'm sure there will be. So you could probably drill into our website and it'll say what the qualifying criteria were for the major events fund. Yeah.
And sorry, just another question around events. So looking at removing the community events fund and just having the district promotion fund, can community events then apply under the district promotion fund instead?
Yeah, so certainly again through the chair, so any event can obviously apply through the to the DPF. So they can definitely continue to apply there. But like I say, we did for a few years, for maybe 6-7 years, if my memory serves me correctly, did have this other option for a much larger events. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Andrew?
I'm just talking to some people in the rural community about the water tower, and they just alerted me to the fact that the council does have a tower at Karapiro township. I don't know about the heritage stage of that, but it's quite iconic. And also there's water storage under the town square in the centre of town. I just thought for a communications thing to the public, like you've got this thing about focusing on that water tower. I thought if you could promote perhaps that you've got other iconic water towers, historic water storage places in the town, centre of town, that you've spent a lot of millions and millions of dollars on a new treatment plant at Parallel that's taken the place of something you might want to demolish, might steer the story in a more favourable manner. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks, guys, for staying on tonight. Just around the water tower, how accurate are those two options, the figures of those two options, 800,000 versus 6 million? For people to help make an informed decision. I mean, is it just it's not a figure you just brought up, but how accurate are they to help people make an informed decision?
Yeah, look, I mean, to be fair, they are kind of. Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry, is it still on?
Yeah, my bad. I thought I had turned it on. So look, there is a certain degree of estimation in those figures. In fact, actually, when you look at the document, it quite clearly in brackets after the 6 million has the word estimated, because that figure does date back a little way, and it was always a bit of a ballpark figure. And then even the cost of the removal, while that is a much lower number of 810,000, and there was some a good degree of costing into that figure. As I said, it will be quite a hurdle getting through a process of applying for a resource consent, and of course, while that's our best endeavours to quantify what that cost would be, that could easily change depending on how smoothly or how roughly that process goes, and what we need to bring into that process.
Sorry. A few years ago, there was a proposal to do some work. It was taken to council by a couple of locals to do some work on strengthening the water tower using a method that has been used in other places. I think it had been used in a chimney in Auckland, a big, almost using fiberglass rods. And
So I believe there was Victoria Park.
So there was a proposal that could be done. So but that was turned down by the council. But I think they just couldn't, at the time, I think the council just thought, really? But it has certainly, that is a not, a method that has certainly worked, and that particular chimney, whatever in Auckland, is still there. So there, that is and I don't know what the costing would be on doing that, but it is a proven method.
Okay, thanks, Sue.
Had to restore.
Probably moving on from the water tower now, there is obviously the question of our discretionary funding that needs to be reduced. Again, as part of this budget and what's happening out there, that makes sense on paper. It's not a very comfortable thing for us. We really love giving the community, even really small charities, sometimes it's 200, 300. It's sometimes small amounts, but it can be really meaningful to some of those smaller charities, especially. So that's a bit sore for us, but obviously we are still understanding that that is part of what the district is going through at the moment. What do you think we would like to say in our submission around that loss of funding? Please? Yep.
Reiterating really what you've said, Joe. That money does do, it seems like little grants, but it does do a lot of great work for particularly volunteer-led organisations that can achieve a lot for very little. We can understand the place that we're in at the moment and maybe suggest that it's not an ongoing drop in funding, that maybe it is just an austerity measure for now, and that things might come back in future years to the level that they're at the moment. I think it certainly would be quite disappointing for our community to lose that stream of funding. Things are going to be hard enough for them for the next couple of years as it is. If it can be a short-term thing, that'd be great.
Yeah, you make a very good point, and that's something that I really think we should submit pretty strongly on. I mean, just hearing tonight a defibrillator down at the RDA, I mean, important stuff, really important stuff to some of these charities. So let's make sure that that's something that we really feed through. What else? Oh, please. Yep.
Just from a rural perspective, the rural people observe the funding of growth sales and civil infrastructure as a high cost to the budget for council, and then the debt related to that. And that really, they have frustration that it's not really involving them in enough. They're bearing the rates increase as well as the urban people to fund those said things.
Thank you.
Yeah, so look, if I could just respond to that through the chair. So look, the ratepayers outside of those gross sales are they're not paying the cost of that. So very much at Waipa, growth pays for growth. So the costs of developing up those growth sales, putting the infrastructure in the ground, etc., is borne by the developers themselves through development contributions. However, what I do take your point is you did make a reference to debt. And sorry, I should also have said the cost of the interest is also built into the DC calculation. So there's that as well. I guess in terms of because there is so much debt that's actually part of funding that growth. What it has tended to compromise, and this was really the story of us developing up our draft long-term plan, and then in fact making the decision to move to an enhanced annual plan, is because there is so much debt that's consumed in those activities. It really makes it difficult to actually take on debt for other projects, and that's exactly why we've pushed pause on things like the Cambridge Library that you've just talked about a few moments ago, as well as some other discretionary projects. So look, the costs are being met by the development community. That's a given. However, it does I guess compromise the ability to achieve other stuff just because there is so much debt tied up there.
Can you just clarify that all the debt and the interest is carried by the targeted rate?
Yes. Sorry, not by the targeted rate, by the development contributions. So yes, so definitely.
In the interim, it's funded by the community.
No, it's not. No, so
The debt
yeah,
hasn't
so
been paid yet.
so the interest is having to be paid. I guess what is happening though is that is being accumulated into and I guess into more debt, but the cost of that debt being paid by the growth community. Yeah.
Eventually.
yeah, eventually, and being clocked up. Yeah, being clocked up and then paid by them eventually.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, got that. So yeah, doesn't it all fall on ratepayers?
Thanks for that, Ken. That was good. I think also it will be important for us as a community board to really acknowledge and recognise that rates rises for some people don't are absorbable and they're not too painful, but for other people, those increases will be uncomfortable. And there are a lot of people like that in this community. Even if it's an extra 50 a month, that can be for some families very significant. So I would like in our submission to be acknowledging that. I think it's helpful, and this budget really sets that out well, that the rates increases are to maintain the beautiful standard of living that we have now. It's not for crazy projects. It's not for things that are, big and fancy. They're about maintaining the good things that we love about our district and the things that we really enjoy. As uncomfortable as they can be, it's going to maintain all the things that we love, parks and reserves, getting the kids back on bikes, all those kind of things that are important. But it still needs to be said that for some families, this will be, it will be tough, those rates increases. I think it'll be important for us to say that. Any other comments on anything in this budget that these are our first thoughts. We've still got a little bit of time before this submission goes in. We'll be submitting in person as well. So we're obviously going to take some more time to gather these thoughts, finesse them a little bit. But I think that's probably spot on for our first discussions. Can I read over your shoulder, Joe? Excellent point. That's fine, yes. Yes, that's fine. Yes, that's fine. Is it? I thought it was 2. Oh. Lucky I didn't. Not yet. Per annum and financial tool. Excellent, yes. Yes, perfect.
Matters and then delegate.
Yes. Okay, so our recommendation as it stands is that firstly that we're going to receive Melissa's report and thank her for staying so late after our long public forum. And that we will be making a submission to the draft 2024-25 enhanced annual plan before the 26th of April, which will include these points. 1, accepting the pause on the library, but we would still like to see future planning for the library continue. The water tower, we will be asking questions on this process, including how long does demolition take and what would go there in its place. And I think we need to put, what is the process? What is the process around the possibility of demolition around that Heritage 2 listing? Because it's not just about the logistics, it's about the process itself being costly, lengthy, etc. Perfect. Acknowledge the impact that the rates increases will have on members of our community who will find the increase a struggle. Recognise the need to reduce the Cambridge Community Board's grant allocations to 20,000 per annum in these financial times, but would like to see the grant level increase when economic circumstances allow. Any other matters subsequently identified in the Community Board members' review of this draft 2024 enhanced annual plan. 25, apologies, yeah. And delegates authority to me as the chair of the Cambridge Community Board to finalise our submission to the draft 24-25 annual plan in consultation with Community Board members and ensure that our submission is received by Council by 5 p.m. on Friday, the 26th of April, 2024. I'm going to move that. Alana will second. All in favour? Everyone happy with that plan? Andrew? Yes, Sue, happy with that? Excellent. No, you guys are, that's fine. Okay, all good. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa and Brad. That's really good. Thank you so much. I'm sorry it's so late. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move forward to our treasury report because we still have our discretionary funding coming up. We wanna move through our standard stuff and get to our discretionary things. So I'll hand over to you, Joe, for that treasury report. Have you guys got this?
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good having it like this. I really found it really helpful. I'm actually going to say that in my submission too, when we come and speak to this, that this was really helpful. And I'm not normally very comfortable with numbers and percentages and graphs. Sometimes I find that a bit overwhelming, but this made it very clear. And I feel like any member of the community could come and pick this up and get a good picture of what is happening. So that was really good. Yep. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, so the treasury report is included in your agenda. Probably the thing to note, particularly for the next item, is the balance in your discretionary fund, grant fund of $25,271.84 and uncommitted. There is also the Sister Cities report that's included in there, and we will just be checking and making sure we've got all those last costs from those delegations have come through and in the right place, and then hoping that next month we will be returning some of those funds back to uncommitted because they're no longer necessary. Any questions on that?
No, that's all good. Yep, I'm happy to move that. And someone second Noda's report, Andrew? Just do you want to do one tonight?
Yes,
Andrew will. Yep. Thank you, Andrew. All in favour? That financial report. Great. That's covered. Right. Let us move into our discretionary fund allocation. Does anyone want to go into publicly excluded now to really look at some of those applicants' financial details, or are we okay with what we have presented and we can make decisions without them?
Should be able to make decisions with the information you've got.
But are you happy that
Yep.
we are not going to go into publicly excluded? That's the question. Are you folks okay with that? Yep. Okay. Sue?
Yep.
You okay? All right. Let's proceed then. That's fine. Okay, Joe.
So just this is your last funding round for this financial year. So in terms of that funding round, you received a number of applications in there. So the total $38,079.50. So you've got 11 applicants there to work your way through. So do you want to start from the
Yes.
top? We've got
Yes.
Zoe with the spreadsheet.
Yes. Could I have that agenda there? Just find it out. Thank you. Sorry. Oh, thank you.
You might want to decide at the start, we have a think about potentially how much money out of that $25,271.84 that you wish to.
How much did you say?
$25,271.84 is what you've got remaining in there. So you might need to think about, do you want to spend all of that? Is there anything that you can see that you've got coming up in the before 30 June?
Yep.
That
You make a good point, Alana.
you've got your Anzac money set aside already, haven't
Yep.
you? So it's just if there's anything else that you were aware of.
That's something we need to consider, but that we don't normally
That's
need any
from the
funding for that.
discretionary grant.
Mm.
So think about whether you want to allocate what you've got left, or
Mhm.
whether you just want to work your way through and
Let's work our way through and just get some first thoughts. That's normally how we do it, isn't it? We go through, we throw out some figures and have a bit, and then we come back and we just look over what we've done. Right, so let's start with the Cambridge Tree Trust.
Madam Chair, I'll just remove myself from that one.
Yes, thank you. Obviously we heard from them tonight. Sorry, I've been using that one up. They are wanting to purchase a second-hand truck. And they're asking for $2,000. Yeah, 2,000. Thoughts? Discussion?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Okay. Yep. Yep. Watch your mic there, Sue. We want to hear that. Say again, Sue, so they can hear that.
Saving the district a lot of money. for the
Yeah.
Work they do.
They do a great
and
job.
Yeah, I think.
Right, moving on. We heard tonight also from the Harbour City Rod Club to run their Hot Rod Run event in Cambridge and surrounding areas. They're wanting $5,500. And he made the point that it was kind of for the organisation side and the admin side of putting on that event.
I kind of felt it's maybe partial is great for the community, but promotion nationally, and it's a Auckland-based organisation, so
yeah,
I'd question mark how much.
Yeah, this will probably be one we want to come back to at the end. In fact, I might actually suggest that we just leave them for now, do the others, and then we come back to that one because that one is one that we just will probably have a little question over. Right, House of Science. Says Te Awamutu Paronga produced 2 new science resource kits, $2,000. Now we did give to them back in 2001. I remember this. She came and she had the little bucket, didn't she? And showed us all that stuff.
TA Paronga.
Joe, it says TA Paronga there. Is that not for Cambridge schools?
Is that just the
Is that their location?
I think is
But they do go through Cambridge schools though, don't they?
I think no, is that just who else they have applied to? Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but they come to a lot of the schools here, don't they? And to be honest, science is really lacking in the curriculum at the moment. That's a whole nother discussion. But you know, they do some good, you know, stuff introducing science to especially primary school kids. I'd be inclined to give them just to start off talking at least $1,000 towards that. Happy to discuss that one. Yep. Again, we can come back.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just aware that we have supported them more than once in the past. Just something to keep in mind in terms of how we're sharing things out.
Absolutely. Very good point. Okay. All right. Well, let's just maybe question mark that one. Parongia Forest Park Lodge, completion of a camp shelter, adding solar panels and lighting, requesting $3,000. This for me is probably a no, just because they are not in our local community area, and we really I know as a board like to focus on what's in our neighbourhood. Happy to hear discussions on this.
Yep, same. I acknowledge that it sounds like a really cool project and I think it will be of value, but prefer to support in our own backyard if we can.
Yep.
I think it's imperative that we stick to our own area.
Yep. Okay, that's all right. All right, let's leave that one. Riding for the Disabled Cambridge, purchase for an AED for housing on site. Yep, and they're asking for $2,750.
Yes.
I'm keen. I mean, it's such a worthwhile thing to have, and it obviously spills over into the rest of the community. It's not just, and the folks and the kids that they have down there are high risk for incidents. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And not to mention that even just able-bodied people with horses is risky, you know, so absolutely.
I
Okay.
thought it was a tragedy. There's so many AEDs in the district that are locked up after it.
Yeah.
It is. Sorry, I'm looking wrong.
I might, sometimes if we have too many on, they do funny things. Okay, so let's put down that we're going to give the whole amount to that. Obviously, we can come back. Rotorangi Memorial Hall Society, we heard from them tonight. Complete repairs, replace weatherboards. That's your local area. Is it looking a bit?
It is very shabby.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been there recently, and out of all the halls on the Royal Tour, I think
Yeah.
Most in need of love, to be honest.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just add, it is good
Please.
for a little bit of this to go in the rural direction sometimes from this discussion
Mm.
fund. So I think it's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's put down the full amount, and again, we'll come back. 3683. Yeah, they would. Everyone would. Te Awamutu Community Cadet Unit, ration packs for weekend camps, 1,405. Again, this is going to come under our local focus, so we'll have to say no, sadly. Kauai O Trust, support 45 rangatahi in gaining learner license, $1,441.50. Now, we supported them in the past, didn't we, with their truck, with their van? Yes, we have. I'm thinking are those folks are they Cambridge folks that they're supporting? Again, it's a tricky one because I know they're based in TA.
Going back to when they presented to us previously, I think there were some in Cambridge, but predominantly outside of
Yeah.
Cambridge.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm a decline. We have supported
Okay.
them quite a bit.
Mike, Philip, Sue? Okay. Well, you know what? Let's just put a little dash and we'll just come back to that one. Waikato Role Playing Guild, Dice and Districts Traveling Tabletop Role Playing Game Event, $300. That seems like district-wide stuff.
So from the application form, I think this was for an event they were wanting to run in TA. So I'd say no. They are potentially looking at doing something in Cambridge in the future. So maybe that's a different case.
Yep. Okay, perfect. If it's not in our local area, then we can be, happy saying it. Right, Cambridge Safer Community Charitable Trust. We heard from Eileen tonight.
Remove myself from this one.
Sure. Wages for temporary employee to continue updating the CNS database, and they want $15,000, which sadly we will not be able to give them, but we can certainly think about giving them a portion of money. We do support them frequently. They are very much a local charity that do excellent work. And work that is often unseen and unnoticed, but very valuable. Happy to hear some discussions around numbers. Oh, you're excluded? Okay. It's going to be Alana, Sue, and I, and Mike. Yep. Thoughts?
I'm definitely happy to support them in some capacity. Looking back at the accountability forms, my bugbear. I see House of Science hasn't submitted one for the last grant, and there's nothing marked next to Safer Community Trust in Leamington Croquet Club. Do you know what the story is with those, Joe?
Leamington Croquet Club actually folded a few years ago, and I think this is a new lot come in and are wanting to almost re-establish the club. I think that's the issue. I do remember them actually folding, and so obviously they're new people to town. Okay.
Okay, let's come back.
Well, just on those accountability forms, sometimes they don't always come through from people that have got grants. They do come in and they are required. I know.
So are you saying that they may be exempt from funding?
I mean, we do have a number of people that haven't
Okay.
provided it before, and I think you have.
We've still been able to give?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Right. So we need to look at.
Okay.
Forward
Okay.
if you are carry on with discretion.
Okay. Well, we can probably just carry on as usual for this round and think about that in the future. Okay. So figures for Cambridge Safer Community Charitable Trust. Yeah. Sorry.
We're up to not allocated, it's 9,400.
Okay. What are we thinking generally about keeping some money? I know you're always pro give the people the money. And I like that, but we also need to think about going forward. We're not going to have a lot more coming in. Do we want to save some, or are we happy just to splash the cash, if you will? Mike.
Look, that's a fair point, given it's going to be a reduction going forward.
Mm.
I just think I support a reasonable amount going to the Cambridge Safe Community Trust. They're they're hardcore Cambridge organisation, and I echo your words. They do a lot of good work.
Mm.
So, but yeah, I'm happy you choose the number.
Okay. Okay. You say Zoe 9,000. How many? 15. Do we want to go for a figure around $8,000? Around half the amount. I know it's going for wages. And then often in the past we've been like, not sure.
I think the work that they do sort of says a lot.
Mm.
Really, they do deserve our support.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the database itself that is the important part and is the final result of the wages and the funding. It's that database. I'm very happy to have a discussion if you're thinking that's a little much. Just watch your mic as well.
It's more than I was thinking, but I could be convinced.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking like 5.
Okay.
Just looking at where we're at numbers wise, and maybe if we're looking at a total spend of around 15,000. But again, flexible on that.
Okay.
Depending on other people's thoughts. So.
Okay. There's not many people left.
No, there's really not. Sorry.
You, me, and Mike. Yeah, Mike.
What do you feel about that number, Sue?
So
what do you think about 8,000?
Yeah.
Do you think that's too much? Do you think that?
I think that's probably, you just said 7.
Mm.
So, but probably 7, 8.
Spot on.
Can I ask, is the Harbour City Rod Club going to come back into the discussion or not?
Yeah, you make a good point.
I feel like maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not.
I mean, it could be
Sorry, for some money.
quite a cool event to have in town, but is it what we're looking for in terms of what we're investing in?
I had a cursory look at their what they were offering, and I thought, they're certainly charging their members a bit. And I thought, well, they're the ones. Okay, we get the benefit of them coming to town, but their members are basically getting the benefit of having a good time, so they could pay for a good time.
I just heard on the radio about the Pink concert in Dunedin today, and they said injected $15 million in the period of the week of that into the economy. Sorry. In Dunedin. Yeah. So
Look,
I'd been in favour of a little bit for them.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with 8 or 7,500 if that's, well, split half what they're asking. I agree. We should probably give Harbour City Rod Club something, because there is going to be, by the sounds, a lot of people who are willing to travel here, and just watch your mic, Phil.
House of, sorry. Science. I couldn't get it right. Silence. Oh, God. Are we giving anything to them yet? $1,000?
No, we're coming back to them. So
Well, we're talking about the house of the hot rods as well. But
yep. So let's just put question mark 7,500 to Cambridge Safer Community Trust. Then we'll just finish. We'll go down to Leamington Croquet Club, lawn renovation and maintenance at the club for $1,000. Mike?
That's probably not a bad deal, because the Leamington Croquet Club actually closed a few years ago. And
So a little bit of an injection of funds, you're saying, would
So
kind of get them back
1,000,
on their feet?
4,000.
Okay, that might be a little much for me. We'll just depending on where we land. Mike, thoughts on any of that? No, that's right. We're Leamington Croquet. No, Andrew. 1,000.
Yeah, I'm with Joe a little bit.
What's that total?
With the
Well-
1,000 for the internal
Yeah.
allowance,
Yeah.
with it would be up to allocated 17,933.
Right.
And amount remaining 7,300.
Sorry, Zoe, can you say that again? 17 for with it.
With it, 17,900.
Mm-hmm.
So that would leave remaining 7,338.
Okay, so should we give Leamington Croquet $500?
Sorry, that was with the 1,000.
Okay. Yep. So let's say, can we go to 500 for Leamington? Sorry.
I reckon 1,000.
And then do we give Harbour City Rod Club 500?
Well, I'd give them 1,000 as well. Give the Croquet 1,000 and
Well,
then
we-
we've got 6 grand left.
I know, but we, do we want to keep that considering we're not going to be having, large amounts of funding again? And if there's something really worthwhile, not that these aren't, but there's something that we really want to support.
I support what I think 1,000 each.
Okay.
And then leaves 6,000 left.
We've still got House of Science to consider. That's not in that allocation yet.
Sorry, that was House of
That's what
Science
that-
was in that
yeah.
allocation.
For how much?
1,000.
Okay.
So
We got.
if we were to have the 1,000 for the Harbour City Road Club, 1,000 for House of Science, and 1,000 for the Leamington Croquet Club, it would total to 18,953, which would leave remaining 6,338.
We've got 2.5 months left this financial year. For 600,000.
Mm.
Go for it.
But your funding will carry over so into next year. So I suppose that's the thing to
That's the
remember.
point.
That if you'll only be getting a reduced sum next financial
Yeah,
year, if you want
But
to.
my point was we've got 6,300 for the next 2.5 months.
It carries over.
Yeah, but if there's something comes up over the next
Yep.
2.5 months.
Yep. Then we've got a
then
little
we've got-
pocket of
we've
money.
Still got quite a bit of money
Yep.
left.
And because we're going to get reduced funding next time, adding that 6,000 could be prudent, because sometimes we like to give big amounts. Sometimes we like to give $10,000 and this will allow us to look at those kind of
But
applications.
probably, I mean, apart from the Cambridge Safer Community Trust, I mean, most of them all average about $1,000 odd, a couple of thousand.
We get some big ones. We get
Yeah,
some
I
big
know,
ones.
but is it likely that
It might not be, but I think it might be prudent.
Mm.
And I think in this kind of time, that might be sensible. Right, should we just run through what we've got? So for the Cambridge Tree Trust, we've given the full amount, 2,000. Harbour City Rod Club, 1,000. Everyone okay with that?
And then the Harbour City the statements here, they've got 22,500 for dinner. At
Oh,
the
that's
race.
publicly excluded information,
Is that the-
which we can talk about, but we will have
They're
to.
spending a lot of money. Yeah, at the race course. So yeah, I agree with $1,000 for that.
Okay. Okay, $1,000, good. Everyone else okay with that? Medium? Medium? Do you want to discuss? No? Okay. Right, House of Science, $1,000. Parongia Forest Park, nothing. RDA, full amount, 2,750. Rotorangi Hall, full amount, 3,683. Te Amutu Community Cadet Unit, nothing. Kauai or Trust. Any thoughts on that one before we carry on? I mean, if they are supporting young folks in Cambridge, then maybe something is, I mean, for these, sometimes they're a newish charity. They're kind of, yeah.
So what about 700 half?
I would say 500. 500 would be a spot on number for me. Brad?
Through the chair, Joe, can the community board put a caveat on that is for specific people in Cambridge? Is that able to be done is what we're probably asking?
Good point. Ines?
While she looks that up, the Clearways CTC, is that in the Waipa? Up by the airport, opposite Trade Depot.
I think I'm right saying it's the old flight training school accommodation, which is Waipa.
Is that Cambridge jurisdiction or Te Awamutu?
It's in my ward.
Okay. Just your ward then too.
Close. Yeah, very
No, they really just talk Waipa wide in their application quite generally. Can we, yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Just make it a condition and
Yeah.
then in their
Okay.
accountability report, that's how they report.
Okay.
Sometimes that is the issue that they don't submit. So in terms of if you wanted to make it a condition, we could put in here in the table, Kawaia Trust $500, subject to the trust confirming that this money will be spent in Cambridge.
Yep.
And then if they can't confirm that, then we don't give them the funding. I think that would be the better way to do it rather than relying on
Okay.
the accountability form.
Okay, cool. Right, so 500. Waikato Role Playing Guild, we said nothing. Cambridge Safer Community Charitable Trust, we said half the amount, 7,500. And the Leamington Croquet Club, we said 1,000 in the end, didn't we? What have you got, Zoe?
That would total 19,400. And the remaining 5,800.
Everyone okay with that? Yep. Yes, 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 I will move that. And Alana, I hope, is going to second it. Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Right, okay. Good job, everyone. Right, now we're going to move on to our Bahoro delegation. And Alana, is it okay if you speak to this a little bit? I'll introduce it, but do you want to give a little bit more background?
Yeah.
Or Joe, would you want to start us off? Probably better. True. Just for all the folks at home, though, I meant. But Joe, you go for it, and then Alana and I can fill in any details.
Okay.
And also, thank you so much for putting in this report for us. It was last minute, and you worked really hard on it, and I really appreciate that because you were a busy lady, and we gave you an extra report. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
See you, Ken. Thank you.
Ken. So this has really just come around because we have the mayor has received an invitation for a delegation to go to Bahoro later in the year and looking at setting up some arrangements to get on board members of our community or elected members to go on that visit on a self-funding basis. So we need to have a selection process and criteria and a way of selecting those people. So the idea is that we set up a small group with the mayor, the chair of the Cambridge Community Board and Alana Mackay to establish a process and select people for the delegation. So they will be left to come up and firm up the process that they want to undertake. And then once they call for applications to then select those people.
That's something there. State of health at the moment, but Graham was instrumental in the Pahoro committee, and he knows them well. And I think if we could at least invite him to be included in the selection, in that conversation. I'm not sure that he'd be wanting to go, but you know, he knows Pahoro well. He knows the people. He keeps in contact with them, and I think it would be a nice gesture to acknowledge what he's done.
Understood. Thank you, Sue.
Yes, Liz and I have been talking to Graham, and he's very supportive and keen to help us with any information that we need. Obviously, he's been through this process before, so he's a wealth of knowledge for us doing it for the first time, particularly along the lines of the process for selection. He's given us some good ideas on how to do that, how to make sure we tailor that group that's going to be a great mix of community as well as elected members, and making sure that it's along the lines of things that will be beneficial to the relationship going forward, and particular areas of interest being education and agriculture. So that's the basis that we're forming up this selection process. We hope to be going out with that in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll get lots of people from the community interested to go, potentially forge some new and exciting relationships over there. The other thing that Graham mentioned in talking with Brent Nielsen, who they're both involved with the Lovely Fund, which was started by don't quote me on the name. I think it was the professor that was originally involved. He gifted an amount of money that's been in trust. So there is a possible option for people from the community, not elected members, to apply to that for some assistance, potentially with some of the travel costs. So that might help remove a barrier for members of the community wanting to join the delegation. But other than that, it's all completely self-funded. It certainly is for all elected members, self-funded. So it's nothing coming out of our budget other than an official gift on behalf of Cambridge to Pahoro while we're there.
So just pop that mic on, because this is on the last trip. We actually asked if we could meet some of the local native people, the Ainu, which was really quite something. Yeah, because the Ainu people had never actually been invited into their council building. And later on, we actually had some of those Ainu came and visited Cambridge.
Wow.
So it's, but certainly, it's an agricultural area. If we've got any farmers, I would say it's a perfect place. You know, we were taken to one of their dairy farms, you know, and that's what they've done when they've come here. You know, they've gone to field days. It's very much an agricultural area, but certainly recommend it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and along with Sue, I stayed on one of the farms there. It was about 100 acres, which is a large farm for Japan. So, but Mayor Koji and I were in contact regularly, including this week, and he's pretty excited about a delegation coming there. It was his birthday in February too, so we were wishing him happy birthdays then. But it's the view of a couple of elected members that have been involved with the community board before, that we feel that a community board member, Alana or Joe or somebody, if you two don't go, then someone senior, the next person down, should be funded. They should be funded. It is driven by the community board, and there are some other financial avenues that we could, we've briefly talked about, that could help cover that cost. But we certainly feel at least one community board member, yourselves or whatever, if you don't go, then the next person down should be funded by the community. Should be funded rather than self-funded.
Yeah, I definitely agree that someone from the community board should go. It's one of our delegations from the council to manage the relationship. So I think it's really important that we are part of that. Yeah. I haven't heard anything about that. I'm interested to hear what comes out in the future, but
Funded in the past.
But I suppose one thing you need to look at is your budgets, and that's what I was trying to reflect in the report that we've written, which is why I've said kind of self-funded, because that has been certainly a number of the conversations that have been held to date have talked about it being self-funded. This is a very small budget that you have. You have essentially, while we will be returning some of the money from your delegations in November, it won't be a significant amount. That budget of 12,000 has annual expenses as well that comes out of it that are kind of amount to, I think it's about 3 or 4 grand a year anyway. And effectively that way that budget operates is to save its pennies for actually doing a delegation, which is quite costly, because I think, if you just look at how much you spend in November, that they're not cheap. And so unless you're kind of saving your money out of that budget, you're not going to be able to afford to do those other delegations later, because the money won't be there.
Yeah, appreciate that, but we're talking about money from elsewhere, not
Not
their money.
council money, is that what
Yeah,
you're talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
So you're not talking about council funding? Okay.
Okay.
When we went up, we were all self-funded, and which was certainly, and we were all home hosted, and that certainly made a difference. And then a couple of us stayed on in Tokyo for a few days, simply because, well, actually we went to Kyoto beforehand, because my mother told me if we were going to Japan, we should go to Kyoto. So Ellen and I went to Kyoto for a few days before. But certainly the delegation stayed in Tokyo for a couple of days after they'd been in Beholland.
There'll be a lot of planning to come for the details and the ins and outs for sure.
And I went up to Fuji afterwards.
Yes, yeah, lots of exciting things to plan about in that trip. Let's move though, that the Cambridge Community Board receives Joe's report and delegates authority to Mayor Susan, myself as chair and community board member Alana, to establish a process and select people for the delegation to Pahoro in 2024 and finalise the detail of the trip. She moved it, Philip seconded it. Thank you. All in favour? Happy with that? Thank you, Kate. Right, we can move past recommendation to exclude the public. Board members' reports. I'll start. I have been 100% Cambridge Connections focused since our last meeting. It's been my bread and butter, if you will, for the last month. And the engagement that we have had with the community has been a real positive out of this issue. So obviously some of the folks you heard from tonight, I have met with them, spoken with them. And so that's been my focus over the last month. Alana and I have met about the Pahoro trip, and we'll continue to do that over the next wee while. But I'll just start with you, Alana, on anything else that you've been working with.
Yes, obviously the Anzac committee meetings are ongoing with Anzac Day approaching next week. So if you can, please come along and join in those celebrations, both the dawn and civic ceremonies.
There is an expectation, sorry to interrupt you, that the
Yeah.
Cambridge Community Board is at the civic service. Please. Yep, dawn, start. We won't know if you're there. Yep, civic service is the expectation that we're there.
Yes, and the wonderful Cambridge Brass Band is also putting on an Anzac Salute concert on the Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, with donations to the RSA. We've also had Lukinwa meetings, so that's all still rolling along. Very passionate group of people, potentially hoping to go to Anzac Day in Lukinwa next year. So we'll see how things develop. The Autumn Festival finished with one and pretty much straight on to the next. So that's rolling along too. Also attended the Chamber of Commerce event in regards to the enhanced annual plan, which I thought went really well. Mike in particular did a wonderful job of helping to present that. And I've had lots of positive feedback from the business community around that. So well done.
Yeah, good job.
That's it for me.
Thank you. Andrew?
Last week I went to the Safer Community Trust meeting, and they were delighted to announce they've received some grant funding from the lotteries, I think about 28,000 to which has been really good for their wages to keep Eileen and Kathy rolling along to do the good work they said. Deb Hahn from the police just talked about the cameras I've got operating in T-Rail Road and down by the low level bridge. I think she said they were, and they've got plate recognition and point and zoom, and they're quite effective at monitoring and capturing people that are going through. So they said the crime spree sort of is dulled down a bit in town, and they've been able to have some wins with those cameras. There was some rural house crime in Mangatautari that they've managed. They caught the person red-handed, which was good. A lot more people sleeping in vehicles, they reckon, around town just because of the economic climate. So the community patrols actually just leaving them be because there's just so many of them. So that was quite noticeable. The chair, Ian Hughes, is standing down in the AGM, which is coming up, I think, in May. So it's a bit of a rollover and a new treasurer, a new chair. They're looking for new trust members. They're holding a rural event in Rotarangi on the 23rd of May at the hall. They're going to have fire and emergency there, rural support trust, police, Farm Strong, and a barbecue by Westpac to just get the community out and talk about what they do. What else?
Just on the Safer Community Trust, just want to take this opportunity to thank Brad and Matt Johnson coming along from Parks and Reserves to explain their roles and to give an opportunity for the board members to ask some various questions about cameras and cemeteries and things.
Yeah, thanks, Philip. Sorry for getting that, Brad. I did meet with Kerry Church and Ben and Jared, was it? For an informal meeting about Cambridge connections during the month as well, and tried to help them where I could. Thank you.
Yep, no, you did a good job tonight, especially with some of those details and providing some clarity around some of those things. So thank you for that. It's really helpful. So, yes. Oh, Mike, sorry.
The Anzac Committee, I think once again it's going to be another successful commemoration day. We're certainly helped by having a couple of ex-military on the committee. They just make sure it all happens beautifully. So it's always a good event, and I'm hoping once again the turnout will be good. So
Yeah.
it works well with the Bark Festival happening an hour after we finished on the piazza, then the Bark Festival starts. So I think that's really good, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout, particularly from the school before. And the other thing is I attended the Tree Trust, who are still doing an amazing job for this town. I think they're probably one of the best voluntary groups we've got around, that they just work so hard. And it's the other interesting thing is that we find quite a lot of newcomers to the town have gone and joined in with it. It's a good way.
That's great.
For them, and it's good for us. So I think that's, and I don't think we should forget the amount of work they do, and they work really well with the council staff. And sorry, the other thing I wanted to bring up is we have an old bunker left over from, I think it's the Second World War, in above Lake Te Kutu. And recently, I think somebody has been sleeping there, despite the fact that we had a padlock on the door. And I noticed about 2.5 weeks ago that the door was obviously unpadlocked, and there was evidence that somebody had been sleeping there. And I had heard there'd been people sleeping rough. And then I sort of went up a week later, and by this time there was, because I'd reported to council, and where But one side, which I don't think had a door before, there was now a metal door had been placed there, but already the top bars had been sawn through so that someone could still access it. I think this is a concern because the bunker has a tunnel leading to the site of the old railway station. And I was talking to somebody on the Tree Trust and she said, oh, years ago, her kids used to go play and go through that tunnel.
Mm.
So I think we need to be a bit aware that, and I did report it the other day to the
That's
council
good.
staff, so I'm hoping
Okay.
something has been done about it.
Mm.
Because,
Well, helpful that Brad's here and hearing that as
Yeah.
well.
did you
Yeah.
get the message about it?
I'm not familiar with that one myself. You heard another one?
Mm.
So I've been
Okay.
reported them, yeah, I hope it's a
Well,
drain.
That's good that he can hear that.
But it was just that the two incidents, no place for
Mm.
10 days.
Yeah.
And it was such a shame because although community board painted it a few years ago,
Mm.
it was only just recently there's a big sign that being placed on the back of the saying the North Island history.
Mm. Well, it's good that that's come now and people can learn a little bit about that history. That's good. Anything further, Sue, on any other groups? No? Okay, great. Thank you. Philip?
No, just a couple of things, but just, yeah, to add to that, yeah, it was community board driven. That was
Mhm.
Mike as chair and myself at
Yep.
the time, on the community board, getting it painted and
Mhm.
getting those iron doors up and things like that too.
Yep.
So, and the plaque as well, I thought.
No, there was no plaque there, and I can also say that these guys were so gentlemanly that when it came to the painting of the roof of the bunker, it was left to Elwyn and I to stand on the roof and do the painting.
I'm
Because
sure
they
I've
just
I've
stood
seen
around.
that bunker. You did a very good job. Absolutely can acknowledge that.
Truth's all coming out.
Yeah.
It's all good. And the Cambridge Men's Shed, well, there's a group of guys that
Mhm.
Wanting to start up a
Yep.
Cambridge Men's Shed.
Yep.
And they've approached the council and
They've presented here to us as well.
Yep.
Yep.
And there's a high possibility, I think Ken spoken on this many times, of the old dairy factory or creamery on the corner of Lamb Street and Carlisle Street.
Great.
There is quite a bit of work that needs doing to
Mhm.
it, but so I've been working with them and with a couple of funders to get some money together for them to get it rocking and rolling. So
Great.
we met last week with one of the funders and we're getting things together. there.
Great.
So
Yeah, that would be
it
a
looks
real
like
asset.
It's all in favour from, they're in
Great.
favour to have it and council in favour
Great.
to provide it to them or go through that procedure.
Great.
And so that's really encouraging.
Mm. No, that'll be a great asset to Cambridge for sure. Mm. Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. Mike?
I have nothing to add. I reckon the Cambridge Community Board is very up to date. I've just been going backwards through the last month's agendas. I think you know everything you need to.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep, that's going to be our focus too, for sure. Yep. Right. So next Cambridge Community Board meeting is actually a little bit earlier than our normal middle of the month, on Thursday, the 9th of May. Yep, at 6 p.m. Oh, yeah. I was about to say, did I forget you? But then I didn't forget you. Okay. Sorry. Are you wanting to?
Yes, Lana brought up about the rural tours. Rural tours are usually held in the winter and planning,
Oh,
she
yes,
rightly reminded
yes.
me, could start now. And
Yes.
there was a discussion last year if that should even go ahead again in the future. So I suppose I need to talk to some of the staff that attended and
Yeah, something we need to start thinking about for sure.
yourself, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. That was one
Okay,
thing. And the other
good.
thing was, I just had a thought, the Harbour City Ford and the discretionary funding, should they have an accountability linked back to spending Cambridge, just like we asked for with the learner license
I
program?
think they can't help but do that.
They
Can they?
I think the last four.
I think we probably can't now.
But
We've moved past it. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I think that they've spent
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Right. I'm going to close the meeting now, folks. I'm just going to find my here it is. Sorry, just opening it. Tipo hihiri, tipo rarama, tipo o te whakaro, tipo o te tangata, tipo o te aroha. Ko ine napo, I hirere nei I a tātou. Mauri ora ki a tātou, ho mie huie tākie. May clarity be yours, may understanding be yours through reflection, through personal endeavour, through respect. These are the virtues that bind us as one. May we be filled with well-being, join, gather, unite.